Chapter 1459. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan pondered for a long time before replying. Big Brother Zong, I won't go to the Abyss World for now. In the next month, I want to focus on improving my strength. When I'm done with my things, I'll go to the Abyss World to take a look. When Zong Zhe heard Lin Yuan's reply, he was slightly disappointed. However, Zong Zhe understood that because the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission was on a diplomatic mission to the Radiance Federation, in the Radiance 100 sequence, Lin Yuan's burden was very heavy. The Abyss World is a huge treasure trove for me. Before the Radiance Envoy selection, I should be training in the Abyss World. Zong Zhe's misfortune had been suppressed by astrologer Jitan's pollen and could be slowly healed afterward. It had been a while since Zong Zhe had entered his berserk state. However, Zong Zhe's desire to become stronger remained the same. Zong Zhe knew that his strength could only improve further in a year and a half through the battles of blood and fire in the abyss. Upon hearing Zong Zhe's words, Lin Yuan replied with a smile. Big Brother Zong, after I'm done with my work, we might have a chance to train together in the Abyss World in the future. About half of the fixed spirit silver mine I mentioned to you last time has already been mined. Are you in the house in Copper Crane Alley? If it's here, I'll have someone send it to you. Zong Zhe hurriedly replied. Yuan, I'm at Master's place right now. Just get someone to send me to Kitchen Incense Palace. Before the Class 6 Abyss World Dimensional Rift opens, I should be fusing with Master's otherworldly flames. After talking to Zong Zhe, Lin Yuan chatted for a while and hung up the phone. He planned to ask Wen Yu to send the Diamond Fey storage boxes containing the Spirit Fixation Silver to the Kitchen Fragrance Palace. He then returned to his room and planned to enhance the plant species phase that could produce weather phenomena that he had traded with the Deep Buddhist Chamber of Commerce. It would also allow Gray to quickly increase its strength. Currently, Gray Ash had absorbed sunny weather, cloudy weather, snowy weather, and windy weather phenomena. The plant phase that Lin Yuan had traded from the flourishing Prosperity Chamber of Commerce were the clear yang flower, Een fog sunflower, snow crystal orchid, wind mist grass, thunder cry chrysanthemum, and rainbow jade hibiscus. Once Gray absorbed the auras produced by these plant phase, it should be able to obtain two new abilities. They were skills related to the thunder cry chrysanthemum and skills related to the rainbow jade hibiscus. After entering the Spirit Lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan didn't say anything and started to attack these plant phase. Gray, on the other hand, flew around Lin Yuan, using its body to transform into a cloud to surround him from time to time. Every Fey hoped to increase its strength, and Gray, as a favored spirit, was no exception. Therefore, Gray treasured these plant phase that could produce weather phenomena. Lin Yuan picked up a clear sunflower and enhanced it. He upgraded the clear yang flower from normal to bronze X/legend. He found that the size of the clear yang flower did not change much as its grade and quality increased. Now, every flower of the bronze clear yang flower was blooming with a gentle glow. It was as though the entire Spirit Lock spatial zone was immersed under the radiant sun. Lin Yuan originally wanted to plant these plant phase that could produce weather phenomena in the swamp world. In the end, he found that these plant phase that could produce weather phenomena did not change much after their grade and quality were upgraded. They were still the size of a palm. Lin Yuan decided to pour out a parasol wood shelf in the Spirit Lock spatial zone and put these plant phase that could change weather in rows according to their species. This would not take up much space at all. After upgrading a clear yang flower to bronze/legend, Lin Yuan upgraded another clear yang flower to bronze/epic. Lin Yuan found that the bronze/epic clear yang flower's ore was not much different from the bronze/legend clear yang flower. Therefore, Lin Yuan did not upgrade these clear yang flowers, Een mist sunflowers, snow crystal orchids, thunder cry chrysanthemums, and wind mist grass to bronze/legend. After Lin Yuan upgraded these clear yang flowers, Een mist sunflowers, snow crystal orchids, and wind mist grass to bronze/epic, he only needed to leave the rest to the 100 Questions Beast Legion. Among all the plant phase that could produce weather phenomena, only the most special rainbow jade hibiscus had yet to be enhanced by Lin Yuan. Other plant phase that could produce weather phenomena were very common, and the flourishing Prosperity Chamber of Commerce would be able to get many for him. However, It was likely that there was only one rainbow jade hibiscus. Therefore, Lin Yuan planned to upgrade this rainbow jade hibiscus to bronze/legend and let it evolve in its optimal state. At present, the normal rainbow jade hibiscus looked very inconspicuous. The only bright spot was the rainbow-colored flower bud growing in the middle of the rape-like leaves. Lin Yuan injected spirit qi into the rainbow jade hibiscus. The leaves did not change much after absorbing the spirit qi, but the flower bud became bigger and bigger. In the end, the rainbow jade hibiscus's flower bud even grew to the size of half of Lin Yuan's palm. It could be said that the size of the rainbow jade hibiscus's flower bud was already comparable to the size of all the rainbow jade hibiscus's leaves. As Lin Yuan enhanced the red jade hibiscus all the way to bronze, the rainbow-colored flower bud slowly bloomed. It bloomed into a double-petaled rainbow-colored flower that could wrap the entire rainbow jade hibiscus pot. The moment the flower bloomed, a magnificent rainbow stretched across the flower bud. The appearance of this rainbow seemed to have unknowingly connected the 5 weather phenomena that filled Lin Yuan's surroundings: clear sky, gloomy sky, windy sky, snowy sky, and thunderous sky, into one. It made these 5 non-stop phenomena exceptionally gentle. The 6 weather phenomena in the Spirit Lock spatial zone intertwined and shone, making the Spirit Lock spatial zone look like a paradise that contained all the natural weather phenomena within. After enhancing these plant phase that could produce weather phenomena, Lin Yuan looked at Gray, which wanted to absorb the weather phenomena but was hesitant about whether it should or not. He said softly, "Gray, feel free to absorb the weather phenomena produced by these plant phase from now on. In the future, there will only be more plant phase that can produce weather phenomena. I will strive to fill up 3 parasol wood shelves for you." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Gray pounced into Lin Yuan's arms and bumped into him. After staying in Lin Yuan's arms for a while, Gray turned into a cloud and wrapped around the parasol wood shelves. It was obvious that the weather phenomena released by these 30 or so bronze plant phase were not enough for Gray to absorb. However, this did not delay Gray's exclusive skill, Jade Pact. 2 new jade patterns appeared on Gray's wings. Lin Yuan immediately used Morbius True Data to check on Gray. At a glance, Lin Yuan realized that Gray had indeed gained 2 new abilities on top of its original foundation. Chapter 1460. Fey Name: Heaven Cloud Crane, Fey Species. Feathered Crane Species / Red Crane Species, Fey Grade. Bronze, 5/10. Fey Type. Nature, Fey Quality. Elite Abilities: Frowny Face, Weather Cloud Transformation. The main body appears in the form of clouds and mist all day long. When the main body appears in the form of clouds and mist, it is full of affinity with any natural weather. It can absorb weather through the body and condense the weather into the clouds and mist. Every weather absorbed will generate a new ability, and it will not generate abilities after a long time of advancement. Clear weather's brilliance. Omitted, cloudy weather's shadow. Omitted, snowy weather's freeze. Omitted, windy weather's roar. Omitted, thunder weather's judgment. The cloud-covered area will change the original weather into cloudy weather. At the same time, all living beings within the range will be covered with the thunder weather mark. When friendly targets release thunder attribute abilities in the thunder weather mark, the lethality will be increased, while enemy targets will suffer a series of negative effects such as paralysis and lightning strikes. Rainbow weather's fusion. The cloud-covered weather will change the original weather into rainbow weather. The rainbow weather can promote the fusion of other weather conditions within the range, allowing different weather conditions to coexist in a fusion manner. Exclusive skill: Frowny Face, Precious Jade's Promise. Each absorbed weather condition will be condensed into a special type of precious jade. The precious jade will form a specific precious jade pattern that will grow on the feathers. After the weather condition is condensed into a precious jade pattern, the clouds will no longer contain the weather condition. When the precious jade pattern is activated, each weather condition will turn into a specific precious jade beast. Gray's 2 new abilities were Thunder Weather's Judgment and Rainbow Weather's Fusion. The Thunder Weather's Judgment was similar to the abilities that Gray had previously obtained: Clear Weather's Brilliance, Cloudy Weather's Shadow, Snowy Weather's Freeze, and Windy Weather's Roar. They all changed the cloud-covered weather to enhance one's target and restrict other targets. The Thunderweather's judgment could inflict paralysis, lightning strikes, and a series of negative effects on local targets. This meant that the Thunderweather's judgment was a strong control-type ability. Compared to the other abilities, the Rainbow Weather's fusion that Gray had obtained after absorbing the Rainbow Weather released by the Rainbow Jade Hibiscus was much more special. The Rainbow Weather's fusion could not restrict the enemy or enhance one's own. However, it could fuse other weather skills together, allowing multiple weather phenomena to exist in the clouds at the same time. Previously, Lin Yuan had brought Gray with him to test it out. He couldn't use bright light on sunny days and gray shadow on cloudy days at the same time. If you were in the same area, you could use bright light on a sunny day and shadow on a cloudy day at the same time. In that case, these two skills would restrict and cancel each other out. Since the Rainbow Sky fusion could fuse the weather together, Lin Yuan immediately issued an order to Gray, which was absorbing the weather. Gray, now cast Clear Sky's brilliant light, Cloudy Sky's shadow, and Rainbow Sky's fusion at the same time in the area above me. Try to combine the bright light of a sunny day and the dark shadow of a cloudy day. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's command, Gray flapped its wings and flew away. Clouds gathered above Lin Yuan's head. Immediately after, Gray cast Sunny Day's brilliance. Lin Yuan felt as though he was under the warm sun. However, when Gray cast Cloudy Sky's shadow, a portion of the clouds turned grayish-black. All of a sudden, most of the warm sunlight was blocked. Just as the two phenomena canceled each other out, a rainbow flashed between the clear and the dark. This rainbow was like a bridge that separated the clear and dark areas so that the clear and dark areas would not invade each other. Rainbow used the method of division to fuse the two types of phenomena together in an area. It was a wonderful feeling to enjoy the two phenomena under the same sky. Through his communication with Gray, Lin Yuan understood that Gray could use the Rainbow Sky fusion. Fusing the two phenomena would cause its own spirit chi consumption to increase. Previously, Gray could use the Rainbow Sky fusion to fuse the two phenomena together. But now, Gray could use the Rainbow Sky fusion to fuse the two phenomena together. Gray could only hold on for half an hour. Calculating it, it was equivalent to doubling the spirit chi consumption. After understanding this, Lin Yuan continued to try. He asked Gray to use the Rainbow Sky fusion to fuse the wind's roar, snow's freeze, and thunder's judgment into the weather above his head. Gray let out a clear cry. Immediately after, the cloudy part of Lin Yuan's head began to snow, and lightning flashed in the clouds. On the sunny side, there was a gust of wind that caused the clouds to tremble. Seeing this, Lin Yuan thought to himself, "It seems that the fusion of the various phenomena uses the sunny and cloudy weather as the carrier." In the small space above his head, Gray could use the 5 elements, light, dark, wind, ice, and thunder, to enhance itself. It could use these 5 elements to suppress the enemy. However, if Gray used the Rainbow Sky fusion to fuse the 5 phenomena at the same time, it could only last for less than 5 minutes. But this was already shocking enough. One must know that Gray's current rank was only bronze level 5, which was of excellent quality. When Gray's grade and quality increased, the duration of the ability would continue to increase. In addition, there were more than 5 kinds of weather in the natural world. From his previous conversation with Lin Yuan learned that she could find a few other plant phase that could produce phenomena for him. The more types of weather it absorbed, the stronger Gray's ability to enhance itself and weaken the enemy. If Gray was allowed to grow into a myth breed, Lin Yuan felt that under the protection of Gray's cloud chi, even if the floating island whale was discovered, ordinary experts would not be able to cross the area covered by Gray's cloud chi to reach the floating island whale. As soon as they stepped into the area covered by the cloud chi, they would fall into a swamp of elements and suffer various negative effects such as burning, dizziness, sluggishness, freezing, numbness, and lightning strikes. Looking at Gray, which was circling above his head, Lin Yuan said to Gray, "Gray, you have 2 kinds of jade ornaments on your body. Gray, you now have 2 kinds of jade ornaments on your body. Call out the treasure jade beasts formed by the lightning heaven chi and the rainbow heaven chi. Show me." Gray's exclusive skill, Jade Pact, would produce the corresponding jade ornaments on its body according to the type of weather it absorbed. The bright light of the sunny weather corresponded to the topaz ornament in the shape of the sun. Gray could summon a bird-type elemental fae with blazing flames on its head and tail. The shadow of the cloudy weather corresponded to the purple crystal ornament in the shape of the moon. Gray could summon an elemental deer-type fae with purple stripes on its body. The freezing weather corresponded to the snowflake-shaped sapphire ornament. Gray could summon a tortoise fae with ice crystals on its body. Chapter 1461. The wind's roar corresponded to the irregularly shaped white jadeite pattern. Gray could summon an elemental horse-shaped fae with a stream of air wrapped around its body. At that moment, a bright yellow elemental snake fae with lightning arcs crawled out of Gray's spiked olivine pattern. Just as Lin Yuan was wondering why Gray hadn't summoned the treasured jade beast in the arc-shaped rainbow tourmaline pattern, Lin Yuan heard Gray's childish voice. Lin Yuan, help Gray replenish some spirit chi. Otherwise, Gray will not be able to activate the jade pattern obtained from the rainbow sky. Lin Yuan felt a little strange when he heard that. Although Gray's fusion skill consumed a lot of spiritual energy, Gray only lasted for a minute during the process. This meant that Gray still had at least 4/5 of its spirit chi left. Gray did not consume much spirit chi to summon this elemental snake fae from the rainbow sky's jade pattern. Could it be that the elemental fae summoned by the rainbow sky's jade pattern was as special as the rainbow sky's fusion? Lin Yuan raised his hand and released a spirit injection on Gray. Gray's spirit chi was replenished in an instant. Once Gray consumed its spirit chi, Lin Yuan's spirit injection would continuously replenish Gray's spirit chi for 2 hours. After replenishing its spirit chi, Gray let out another clear cry. The 5 jade beasts were summoned by Gray, each with a different posture. Then, the curved rainbow tourmaline on Gray's body emitted a gentle rainbow light. Under the rainbow light, the 5 treasured jade beasts fused together. Finally, they became an elemental crane fae with 5 colors. The moment he saw this elemental crane fae, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. This elemental crane-shaped fae's appearance was exactly the same as Gray's before it obtained the cloud transformation ability. Lin Yuan had originally thought that Gray was a favored spirit that focused on support and control. However, it seemed that was not the case at all. Under the rainbow sky's jade pattern, the elemental crane fae that was formed by the 5 treasured jade beasts contained 5 types of elemental energy and was extremely aggressive. Lin Yuan planned to test the power of Gray's move. Lin Yuan gestured to the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope and said, "Let's go. Wind Speed Rapid Antelope, take this move from Hui Hui. Let's see if Hui Hui's attack can make you take a step back." The Wind Speed Rapid Antelope was now a Gold X/Legend Fae. Since Lin Yuan had been feeding the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls for a long time, it had built an excellent foundation for the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope. After consuming the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearl Powder, the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's fur turned from khaki to white. The degenerated antlers showed signs of growing again. It was obvious that the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's bloodline had mutated. It could be said that the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope was standing at the ceiling of Gold Phase, just below Fantasy Breeds. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's command, the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope did not take the initiative to attack the elemental crane-type fae that Gray had summoned. Instead, he raised his head and weaved layers of fine wind nets in front of him. Gray and the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope were good friends, and they often played together. Gray knew that the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope was telling it to attack. Gray immediately commanded the 5 types of jade beasts to form an elemental crane-type fae to attack the wind wall. A 5-colored glow shot out from the crane-type elemental fae and shot straight at the wind net released by the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope. When Lin Yuan sensed Gray's attack, he frowned and thought, "Not good." Lin Yuan hurriedly shook his hand, and the source sand, which had transformed into a cufflink, revealed its true form. A large number of guard sand quickly blocked in front of the Wind Speed Rapid Antelope's wind net. Immediately after, a violent explosion echoed on the sand wall. It might not have blasted a large hole in the sand wall, but it did not threaten the wind net behind the sand wall. However, it still blasted a very obvious dent in the sand wall. Lin Yuan's source sand was a diamond/fantasy breed elemental source-type life form. In fact, it was not because of how powerful Gray's attack was, but because the 5 types of elements were mixed together due to the rainbow weather. When separated from the rainbow weather, the 5 types of elements would instantly repel each other, resulting in an explosion. This was a kind of multi-attribute elemental explosion ability. Even if this elemental explosion exploded on the wind-speed rapid antelope's body, it would not kill it. However, it would definitely severely injure the wind-speed rapid antelope. He had raised this little fellow for so long, and it was also the capable manager of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan could not bear for the wind-speed rapid antelope to be injured. The wind-speed rapid antelope and Gray were still in a daze and did not understand the situation. However, Lin Yuan, who felt the explosion's power, was already somewhat shocked and speechless. Was this the strength of a favored spirit? With a bronze body, it had launched an attack above gold. Although the strength of this attack came from the elemental explosion, as Gray absorbed more and more aura, the explosion's power would only increase. As the types of elements increased, the purity of the aura would increase, and the explosion's power would only increase. When Gray became a myth breed, it would probably have the capital to contend with a creation breed Fae. After enhancing Gray, Lin Yuan left the Spirit Lock spatial zone. After dinner, Lin Yuan logged on to the star web. There was no news of the Abyss Dimensional Rift opening on the star web yet. The star web was still full of public opinion regarding Sky City and the Moon Empress disciple. However, when the news of the Abyss Dimensional Rift opening was made public, all the public opinion on the star web would be suppressed in an instant. This was because the opening of the Abyss world would be a new process for the entire Radiance. Lin Yuan had not logged in as the combat class Spirit Chi Professional, Black, for a long time. Ever since Lin Yuan's virtual influence was established in the Celestial Stairway Hall of Fame. Lin Yuan did not need to participate in a Celestial Stairway duel every month to ensure his star rank. This caused Lin Yuan's black identity to make smaller splashes on the star web. Although the official fan club and forum were still there, they were no longer as active as in the past. This time, Lin Yuan still did not log in as the combat class Spirit Chi Professional, Black. Instead, he logged into his original identity. However, due to being busy during this period, Lin Yuan's original identity had not logged into the star web for a long time. As a result, there were many unread messages in Lin Yuan's message bar. Lin Yuan's star web account was open, but he did not add many friends. The number of friends did not exceed 10. Among Lin Yuan's friend messages, there was actually someone who had sent him more than 20 messages. Lin Yuan could not help but be surprised. This was because people who really had something to look for him usually had his contact information. There was no need to contact him through the star web. Lin Yuan took a look and found that the person who contacted him was an old acquaintance, Zhou Jiasen. Chapter 1462. Zhou Jiasen, are you there? I want to discuss the store with you. Zhou Jiasen, it's urgent. If I have time, I want to ask for your opinion. Zhou Jiasen, I don't think I can run the store anymore. The store is priced at 240,000 Radiance dollars. I've transferred 750,000 Radiance dollars to you according to the shares. Zhou Jiasen, thank you for taking care of me during this time. Zhou Jiasen, as for the unsold goods you provided, I'll let Ostrich Logistics send them to you after I sell the store the day after tomorrow. I'll also send them to the address I mailed the goods to last time. Zhou Jiasen's first message was already 9 days ago. The new message was only sent an hour ago. Through Zhou Jiasen's message, Lin Yuan could be sure that she must have encountered trouble. This trouble was not small for Zhou Jiasen. Otherwise, given Lin Yuan's understanding of Zhou Jiasen, she would not sell the store no matter what. Lin Yuan's first star web shopping was at Zhou Jiasen's store. In the beginning, Zhou Jiasen had taken care of him a lot. If not for Zhou Jiasen's extra care, Lin Yuan would have missed the fate with the wind speed rapid antelope, the cinnabar sweet osmanthus, and the cinnabar osmanthus haworthia. The wind speed rapid antelope had become his Spirit Lock spatial zone's little butler. The cinnabar sweet osmanthus had attracted a top-notch auspicious sign, the salivating auspicious swallow. The fruits of the cinnabar osmanthus had increased his spiritual energy. It could be said that Zhou Jiasen's help had allowed Lin Yuan to seize many opportunities. Lin Yuan had been helping Zhou Jiasen afterward by providing her with materials. As early as a few months ago, Zhou Jiasen's 3-star store had been promoted to a 5-star store. Due to the excellent quality of the spiritual ingredients and phase sold. Among the group of 5-star stores, Zhou Jiasen's store still had a good reputation. Previously, in the Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club, Zhou Jiasen had shared a lot about the store. The Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club was now filled with big shots. Among these big shots, more than half were creation masters. In addition, there were many faction members who squatted to snatch the heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls every night. This made Zhou Jiasen and those who had joined the Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club more and more speechless. The violent-tempered and Buddha-tempered people had not appeared in the fan club for a long time. However, it was said that the violent-tempered woman had come to Zhou Jiasen's shop to help. He also lent some money to Zhou Jiasen's shop and took some shares. He could be regarded as a small shareholder of the shop. Speaking of Lin Yuan, he was also a shareholder of Zhou Jiasen's store. However, compared to the violent-tempered woman, who only had a few shares, Lin Yuan had a lot more shares. According to Zhou Jiasen's message, if her store was priced at 240,000 radiance dollars, Lin Yuan would be able to buy it. Lin Yuan's 30% of the shares should be able to get 720,000 radiance dollars. It was obvious that Zhou Jiasen had given him 0.33 million radiance dollars to express her gratitude. For the current Lin Yuan, let alone 0.30 radiance dollars. Even 3 million radiance dollars were not enough. He only needed about 8 minutes to enhance a bronze/epic Fey. He only needed to work in the Spirit Lock spatial zone for 48 seconds to obtain 3 million radiance dollars. However, for Zhou Jiasen, whose total assets were less than 200,000 radiance dollars, 0.33 million radiance dollars was undoubtedly a huge sum of money. If it was someone else's matter, Lin Yuan would just let it be. However, Zhou Jiasen was the first batch of people that Lin Yuan had met since his rise. Lin Yuan was still going to help Zhou Jiasen. Since Zhou Jiasen said that the shop would only be sold in 2 days, Lin Yuan planned to go to her shop to understand the situation. He wanted to see what kind of difficulties she had encountered. Zhou Jiasen, who had been pursuing opening a shop, had no choice but to sell it. Among the people who had sent messages to Lin Yuan, apart from Zhou Jiasen, there was also Redbud City's Creation Master Guild's Elder Ning. It was Elder Ning who had given him this star web card. When he had given Lin Yuan the card, Elder Ning had added Lin Yuan as a star web friend. It could be said that Lin Yuan had been selected by the Redbud City Lordess and sent to the Moon Empress. It was all because of Elder Ning's information. Therefore, Elder Ning was very clear about Lin Yuan's identity as the Moon Empress disciple. Ning Yanting, Your Highness, I want to ask you for a favor. Your Highness has seen my spiral-toothed shark before. Ning Yanting, I wanted that spiral-toothed shark to awaken its giant-toothed shark bloodline, but something went wrong when I was mixing the spiritual materials, causing the spiral-toothed shark's bloodline to reverse. Ning Yanting, I urgently need some main dragon species phase essence blood to allow the spiral-toothed shark's bloodline reversal to evolve toward a dragon species bloodline. Only then can the spiral-toothed shark have a chance of survival. These 3 messages were sent by Ning Laosand a few days ago. Upon seeing these 3 messages, Lin Yuan could not help but think, am I too late to see the messages? He hurriedly exited Star Web, picked up his cell phone, and called Elder Ning. The phone rang a few times and was quickly picked up by Elder Ning. Lin Yuan hurriedly said, Elder Ning, I just logged onto the Star Web today and saw the message you sent me. I'll arrange for Ostrich Logistics to send it to you right away. I've been delayed for 3 days. The spiral-toothed shark shouldn't be in any danger, right? For the past few days, Ning Yanting had been searching for the main dragon species phase essence blood and was physically and mentally exhausted. Ever since Ning Yanting became a Class 4 Creation Master, he had been working hard to awaken his spiral-toothed shark's bloodline. During this process, Ning Yanting had spent countless resources. As a result, even though Ning Yanting was a Class 4 creation master, he was still empty-handed. Ning Yanting originally thought that after that ferocious strike, the spiral-toothed shark's bloodline would undergo ancestral awakening. However, the reality gave Ning Yanting a ruthless slap. If Ning Yanting wanted to protect the spiral-toothed shark, the best way was to let the spiral-toothed shark obtain a new bloodline. This could be said to be the path that Ning Yanting didn't want to take. If he wanted to take this path, Ning Yanting's spiral-toothed shark would have long evolved into the spiral-toothed shark. Ning Yanting could find ordinary spiritual materials, but the main dragon species phase essence blood was truly difficult for him. If it was just blood, Ning Yanting could look for experts with the main dragon species bloodline to ask for a few drops. Without resources, at most, he would owe some favors and slowly return them in the future. However, for dragon species phase, essence blood was considered the entire body's essence. The higher the dragon species phase grade, the lesser the amount of essence blood that could be condensed. A main dragon species Fae could only condense 5 or 6 drops of essence blood at most. As a contractor, Ning Yanting truly couldn't watch his Fae die because of his stubbornness. Therefore, Ning Yanting thought of Lin Yuan. Chapter 1463. Only Lin Yuan, the Moon Empress disciple, would be able to obtain a rare item like the main dragon species Fae essence blood. When Ning Yanting sent a message to Lin Yuan for help, his face was flushed red. 3 days after Ning Yanting sent the message, there was still no response from Lin Yuan. This made Ning Yanting feel somewhat bitter in his heart. Just as Ning Yanting was about to accept reality, Lin Yuan called. Ning Yanting was momentarily at a loss for words. Moreover, he had solved his problem as soon as he opened his mouth. He didn't know what to say. Saying thank you makes it seem weak. If it was anything else, Ning Yanting would not be able to afford the main dragon species phase essence blood. Lin Yuan, who had keenly sensed Ning Yanting's state, changed the topic. If Elder Ning has any other needs, please don't hesitate to ask this junior. Junior has done senior a favor, and it just so happens that junior has a matter that I would like to ask senior for a favor. When she heard Lin Yuan's words and how he addressed her as senior, she felt a chill run down her spine. Ning Yanting felt as if he had suddenly seen the young man who had been scribbling away during the exam. Even though that youth had become the Moon Empress disciple, he was still as humble as before. Your Highness, if there's anything you need this old man's help with, just let me know. When he had just entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone, Chimey had been urging him. He wanted to spend the money in the Warm Sun Fund as soon as possible to carry out the Warm Sun Plan. Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang had previously discussed how to implement the Warm Sun Plan. Other than improving its strength every day, Chimey was thinking of holding fan meetings. The rest of the time was spent on live streaming and donating to the Nuanyang Foundation. Lin Yuan didn't want to disappoint Chimey. Lin Yuan had come from a small place like Redbud City's Xia region. Lin Yuan understood the situation in the Xia region and Redbud City the best. Therefore, he planned to use Redbud City's Xia region as the starting point for Project Warm Sun and spread it to the entire Redbud City. Finally, it spread throughout the entire Radiance. In order to ensure that there were no loopholes in the Nuanyang plan, they needed someone like Elder Ning, who had an official background, to oversee it. After explaining his intentions to Elder Ning, Lin Yuan hung up the phone. He sent a drop of essence blood that he had extracted from the main dragon phase liver that the Moon Empress had given him and sent it to Elder Ning. Ning Yanting was left alone beside the spiral-toothed shark. His blood was boiling. This young man, who had just left the Xia region for less than a year, was already thinking of returning to his hometown? What kind of pure and innocent heart was this? If this young man treated his hometown like this, what would he do to the entire Hui Yao sect? Ning Yanting had always felt that Lin Yuan's creation master talent was the current generation's prodigy. He had created the history of the creation master exam. But now, Ning Yanting felt that compared to Lin Yuan's creation master talent, Lin Yuan's character was more dazzling. This kind of character could no longer be described as noble. For in this character is a belief in the welfare of others. This kind of character must be glorious. After mailing the Master Dragon Essence Blood, he logged into Star Web again and went to Zhou Jiasen's store. When Lin Yuan arrived at the store, he noticed that Zhou Jiasen was having a discount promotion. An unusually large number of customers were rushing to purchase and stock up on spirit materials. More than half of the spirit siphon goldfish had been sold. At this time, in addition to Zhou Jiasen, there were also the violent-tempered woman and 5 employees in the shop. The 7 of them were extremely busy. Lin Yuan went forward and greeted Zhou Jiasen, who was introducing the spiritual ingredients to the customers. Big Sister Xn, I didn't see the news on Star Web previously. When I saw the news, I immediately rushed to the store. When Zhou Jiasen heard the youth's unique and familiar voice, she was stunned. She then turned around with pleasant surprise. After confirming that it was Lin Yuan, Zhou Jiasen first apologized to the customer. She then arranged for the customer to be with an employee before walking to Lin Yuan's side and smiling. Lin Yuan, you have grown a lot taller after not seeing you for a few months. Lin Yuan's height had indeed increased from 177 centimeters, and his body was much more robust. When Lin Yuan saw the unconcealable loneliness in Zhou Jiasen's smile, he went straight to the point. Big Sister Xn, your Class 5 store is doing fine. Why are you closing all of a sudden? Zhou Jiasen let out a sigh in response. You are the store's major shareholder, so I originally wanted to ask for your opinion. But for the past 2 days, the 3 Class 2 creation masters that were originally hired by the store are no longer serving the store. An old and rising force has been pressuring me to turn my shop into a chain store under that old and rising force and let that old and rising force manage it. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan immediately knew the whole story. It seemed that Zhou Jiasen had been targeted by an old rising force. Under such circumstances, Zhou Jiasen wouldn't be able to deal with this old rising force if it used some illegal means. This was also the fundamental reason why most of the 5-star shops on the Star Web were backed by forces. However, a Class 2 creation master was considered a top-notch figure in a rising faction. Zhou Jiasen had treated the 3 Class 2 creation masters extremely well, and there was no reason for the 3 Class 2 creation masters to be coerced by this veteran and rising faction to not work for Zhou Jiasen anymore. With this doubt, Lin Yuan asked Zhou Jiasen, Big Sister Xn, were those 3 Class 2 creation masters also forced away by this veteran rising faction? Zhou Jiasen quickly shook her head and said, This veteran rising faction has been eyeing our store for a long time. It didn't make such an unreasonable request because it cared about the 3 Class 2 creation masters' reputation. However, I didn't expect that one of the top 3 factions, the Whale Ocean Trade, would be gathering a large number of creation masters and wouldn't limit their star ranks. The creation masters who participate in the experiment will be nurtured by the Whale Ocean Trade. It is because of this information that the 3 Class 2 creation masters in the store left. Lin Yuan originally wanted to help Zhou Jiasen with a small favor, but he didn't expect to hear such news. The Whale Ocean Trade again. It was related to creation masters again. Through Ji Feng, Lin Yuan understood that the Whale Ocean Trade needed creation masters, not the creation masters' talents. Instead, it was the creation masters' lives and bodies. If the Whale Ocean Trade really released such news, who knew how many creation masters would be attracted to the Whale Ocean Trade? If these creation masters were secretly harmed by the Whale Ocean Trade, it would undoubtedly be the same as cutting off the Radiance creation master's potential. However, Lin Yuan couldn't understand one thing. Even if the Whale Ocean Trade really had the guts to use the creation master's lives and bodies to do some dirty things, even if it succeeded, the High Lords would find out and pursue the matter. How could the Whale Ocean Trade escape the calamity of extinction? Lin Yuan was originally planning to find time to bring Bai Yinya to explore the Whale Ocean Trade's old mansion. However, it was one thing if he could explore the old mansion at night without being discovered by the Whale Ocean Trade's experts. It was another thing if he could find out something fishy about the Whale Ocean Trade. Chapter 1464. Even if he had the ability to not be detected by the Whale Ocean Trade's experts, it would be very difficult for him to discover the Whale Ocean Trade's conspiracy just by spying at night. However, there was a ready-made opportunity. He would then be able to openly participate in the Whale Ocean Trade's recruitment as a Class 2 creation master. At that time, the Whale Ocean Trading Company would reveal its hidden scheme to him. At that time, he would undoubtedly know clearly what the Whale Ocean Trade was planning. With that in mind, Lin Yuan said to Zhou Jiasun, "Sister Xan, if you want to continue operating this 5-star shop, I have a way. I can help you contact a peak power, do Immortal Garden, and let you work with them directly. This way, even if that old rising force had 10 guts, they wouldn't dare to do anything to your shop." Lin Yuan paused for a moment before continuing. "Sister Xan, I'm very interested in the experiment mentioned by the Whale Ocean Trade. I wonder what specific information Sister Xan has obtained." He had learned about the Whale Ocean Trade from Zhou Jiasun. This was something that Wen Yu had not told him before. He had told Wen Yu to pay attention to news of the Whale Ocean Trade. Wen Yu agreed. Therefore, if Wen Yu knew about this, it was impossible for her not to tell him. The only reason why Wen Yu did not tell him was that Wen Yu did not know about this matter. It was no wonder that Sky City did not have an intelligence department at the moment. All the information she knew about the Whale Ocean Trade came from the Radiant Moon Palace and the Hidden Moon Pavilion. The news of the Hidden Moon Pavilion was not updated every day. Instead, the information would only be gathered every once in a while. Through this matter, Lin Yuan felt that his Sky City should start to establish its own information channel. It wasn't like such a situation where the top factions recruited creation masters for experiments had never happened before. Therefore, this kind of thing would not attract too much attention from the Hidden Moon Pavilion. However, after learning about the Whale Ocean Trade's myriad flag's true face through Ji Feng, Lin Yuan was certain. The Whale Ocean Trade was recruiting a large number of creation masters and wasn't even limiting the creation master's star class. He had to make a big move. When Zhou Jiasun heard Lin Yuan's words, she was delighted and shocked at the same time. When Zhou Jiasun had first seen Lin Yuan, she had only treated him as a cheerful youth. He used federal dollars to buy things, which seemed to be very frugal. Lin Yuan even wanted to buy inferior energy ores, which made Zhou Jia think that Lin Yuan's financial situation was not good. However, it did not take long for him to start spending radiance dollars in his store. He had even set up his own Star Web store. In order to support Lin Yuan, Zhou Jiasun had even specially visited his Star Web store. However, Zhou Jiasun didn't expect that Lin Yuan's store was actually selling bronze usnias. It was a good item that would be fought over once it was placed on the shelves. Zhou Jiasun, who originally wanted to support him, ended up waiting for Lin Yuan's usnias to be placed on the shelves. After that, Zhou Jiasun was certain that there was a creation master behind Lin Yuan. Later on, Lin Yuan became a shareholder of the store and regularly provided the store with silver usnias. Zhou Jiasun was even more convinced of this. But then Lin Yuan's style became a little incomprehensible to Zhou Jiasun. A large number of bigwigs suddenly swarmed into the Purchase with No Loss Stores fan club. Lin Yuan even publicly auctioned the flower brocade pearls in the group. The flower brocade pearls were phase that even creation masters would fight to collect. Any one of them could be auctioned in the Rare Life Form Pavilion for hundreds of thousands of radiance dollars. However, Lin Yuan actually had dozens or even hundreds of such items on the shelves in his store. Later on, during the All-Star match, Lin Yuan was a lucky spectator. He actually defeated the Barbarian Snake Club's main member, Meng Su. It was then that Zhou Jiasun realized that the youth that she had treated as a younger brother was actually a hidden genius. Zhou Jiasun felt that she was not worthy of such a Lin Yuan. Therefore, Zhou Jiasun had never taken the initiative to contact Lin Yuan after understanding his identity. Later on, the Purchase with No Loss store auctioned the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls. To Zhou Jiasun, the flower brocade pearls were things that she couldn't afford even if she went bankrupt. Therefore, Zhou Jiasun didn't have a special concept of the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls. After all, resources like the Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls wouldn't be auctioned in the Rare Life Form Pavilion. Such a good item would never appear in private auctions below the Emperor level. Although Zhou Jiasun knew that Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls were very expensive, she had never had a clear idea about Lin Yuan. It was only then that Zhou Jiasun realized Lin Yuan's words. To think that he could pull a relationship with a top faction for his little 5-star shop. What kind of energy was this? If his Star Web store really had the protection of a pinnacle faction, the Dew Immortal Garden, then he would definitely be able to protect it. Once the old and rising power found out about this, they would definitely hide far away and not dare to have any ideas about his shop. He was even worried that he would settle scores with him later on. This made Zhou Jiasun very happy. No matter what, the store that he had poured his heart, soul into had been saved. However, Zhou Jiasun was not very clear about Lin Yuan's question. Suddenly, Zhou Jiasun's eyes lit up, and she said to Lin Yuan, let's go. In a while, a Class 2 Creation Master should be coming to settle the wages. When he comes, we'll ask him together and we'll know. Upon hearing Zhou Jiasun's words, Lin Yuan nodded. As Zhou Jiasun's shop was having a discount, there were abnormally many people. The violent-tempered woman and the 5 employees were too busy. Lin Yuan had the experience of opening a shop and entertaining customers. While waiting for the Class 2 Creation Master, Lin Yuan even helped Zhou Jiasun receive a few customers. Soon enough, the Class 2 Creation Master arrived at Zhou Jiasun's shop. The Class 2 Creation Master had a rather arrogant expression, but he was rather friendly to Zhou Jiasun. It was obvious that he had a good relationship with Zhou Jiasun. Zhou Jiasun reached out to pat on Lin Yuan's shoulder and spoke to the Class 2 Creation Master. Lord Fei, my brother, my partner would like to ask you about the Whale Ocean Trading's recruitment for an experiment. When the Class 2 Creation Master with the surname Fei heard Zhou Jiasun's words, he glanced at Lin Yuan and said, the Whale Ocean Trading is recruiting Creation Masters, not Creation Masters. Whale Ocean Trade is recruiting Creation Masters, not Creation Masters. What's the use of asking about this? Hearing that, Zhou Jiasun twitched the corner of her mouth, revealing an awkward smile. She looked at Lin Yuan apologetically. Even as the owner of a 5-star shop, Zhou Jiasun's status couldn't be compared to a Class 2 Creation Master. When they met and talked, Zhou Jiasun had to address the Class 2 Creation Master as Lord. Therefore, if the Class 2 Creation Master wasn't willing to speak, Zhou Jiasun couldn't force him. Chapter 1465. Lin Yuan stepped forward and said, I happen to be a Class 2 Creation Master as well. I happen to be a Class 2 Creation Master too. I would like to understand the Whale Ocean Trade experiment. Upon hearing that Lin Yuan was a Class 2 Creation Master, the Class 2 Creation Master with the surname Fei had a flash of surprise in his eyes. Fei Yu had never heard of a Class 2 Creation Master at such a young age. However, in the Radiance Federation, using a Creation Master's identity to swindle others was a serious crime, and no one dared to do so. Zhou Jiasun was also at the side, and this youth would not lie to him. Therefore, Fei Yu became friendly with Lin Yuan. Although Fei Yu was also a Class 2 Creation Master, he was still very willing to associate with a Class 2 Creation Master of Lin Yuan's age. Lin Yuan might become a Class 3 Creation Master at some point in time, and there was no harm in forming some good karma. Fei Yu quickly explained to Lin Yuan about the Whale Ocean Trade's recruitment of Creation Masters to participate in the experiment. Brother, if you wish to participate in the Whale Ocean Trade's experiment, you must hurry up and register. If you don't register today, the registration will be closed tomorrow morning. Lin Yuan's expression changed slightly. Brother, do you know what experiment the Whale Ocean Trade is going to conduct? Fei Yu was stumped by Lin Yuan's question. Fei Yu could not tell what experiment the Whale Ocean Trade was going to conduct by recruiting so many Creation Masters. Normally, when top factions recruited Creation Masters to conduct Fei experiments, they would require the Creation Master's star class. However, the Whale Ocean Trade did not have a star class restriction. Be it a Class 4 or a Class 1 Creation Master, they would all be accepted. Since he did not know, Fei Yu did not answer Lin Yuan's question and changed the topic. Brother, have you heard of the Whale Ocean Trade's Ocean Sky lineage? Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan frowned. He stared into Fei Yu's eyes and nodded. Fei Yu did not notice the change in Lin Yuan's eyes and continued speaking. I heard that those who perform well in this experiment will have the chance to be accepted by the Ocean Sky lineage's Pinnacle Class 4 Creation Master as a disciple. This is a good opportunity. It is because of the Whale Ocean Trade's offer that I want to give it a try. Fei Yu sighed as he said this. Otherwise, I can work in Boss Zhou's store and live a comfortable life. Upon hearing Fei Yu's words, Lin Yuan was certain that Whale Ocean Trade had ill intentions. The Sea Sky lineage's creation masters had already been assassinated by the Myriad Flag's lineage and turned into ghosts. How could a dead soul accept a disciple? Just as Lin Yuan was pondering, Fei Yu and Zhou Jiasun had settled the payment. Fei Yu muttered before leaving. I'm almost in the Radiance 100 sequence, and I'm participating in the Whale Ocean Trade's experiment at this time. I wonder if I can make it in time to watch the Radiance 100 sequence selection. Upon hearing Fei Yu's mutterings, Lin Yuan felt enlightened. Lin Yuan had been thinking that if the Whale Ocean Trade really took the lives of these creation masters, the creation masters wouldn't be able to survive. How could he be so brazen? Now, Lin Yuan understood. The Whale Ocean Trading Company revealed that there were 2 immortal beings in their faction. It was also revealed that the faction's young family head had plans to run for the Radiance Envoy position. It was clear that Whale Ocean Trade was trying to stall for time and shake off the Highness's idea. In the end, during this period of time, the Huihai Treaty was unilaterally torn apart by the Sea Race. The Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation were separated by tens of millions of miles, and they were using sacred source lifeforms to trigger a meteorological phenomenon. In addition, the Radiance 100 sequence selection was imminent, and the envoys of the Azure Federation and the Freedom Federation were dispatched. These 3 matters attracted all the Highness's attention. They had no time to care about the Whale Ocean Trade's actions. In other words, the Whale Ocean Trade was trying to seize this opportunity. It was bringing forward the matter that they had been planning but did not dare to implement. After Fei Yu left, Lin Yuan checked his purchase with No Lost Stores fan club. Lin Yuan found that most of the creation masters in the group were discussing the Whale Ocean Trade. Among the creation masters that belonged to factions, some were tempted. As for the creation masters that did not belong to any faction, almost all of them wanted to give it a try. Among them was Master Duan Li, who had worked for Lin Yuan for 3 months. After solving Zhou Jiasun's problem, Lin Yuan left Star Web. The first thing he did after leaving Star Web was to ask Wen Yu to investigate this matter. Soon, Wen Yu found the registration method to participate in the Whale Ocean Trade's experiment. Since he was going to register, it was not appropriate for Lin Yuan to wear his current face. Lin Yuan asked Wen Yu to give him a faceless paper. Lin Yuan stuck the faceless paper on his face, and soon his exquisite facial features became ordinary under the effect of the faceless paper. There were 2 ways to register for the Whale Ocean Trade's experiment. You could either register on the Star Web or register offline. The Royal Capital had a registration point for the Whale Ocean Trade. Lin Yuan headed to the Whale Ocean Trade's registration point in the Royal Capital in reality. When filling in his name, Lin Yuan thought for a moment. He filled in the name Chu Yuan. After the registration, Lin Yuan was informed by the Whale Ocean Trade staff. 4 days later, gather at the registration point. After chatting with the Whale Ocean Trade staff, Lin Yuan learned that the Whale Ocean Trade's old residence was in the Royal Capital. Since the Whale Ocean Trade's old residence was in the Royal Capital, those who registered in the Royal Capital could report at a later time. At a place far away from the Royal Capital, when the registration deadline was today, there would be specialized flying fays. There were specialized flying-type fays that carried these registered creation masters to the Royal Capital. Lin Yuan thought to himself. In another 4 days, he would be able to find out why the Whale Ocean Trade wanted the creation masters' lives. At night, the night was chilly, and the grass and trees were covered in frost. Such weather was truly unusual for the Royal Capital's March mid-spring season. In a study room filled with books on a completely jade-textured wooden shelf, a dignified middle-aged man was holding a black chess piece and placing it on the chessboard. In an instant, he ate more than half of the white chess piece belonging to the man who looked a little like him. Upon seeing the situation, the man holding the white chess piece hurriedly said, "Big brother, I'll repeat my previous move. Big brother, I'll repeat my previous move. I won't play in the 7 horizontal and 9 vertical positions." Upon hearing that, the dignified middle-aged man's hand did not stop picking up the white chess piece. Wancheng, there are no regrets when you play. If you don't play in the 7 horizontal and 9 vertical positions, how can you eat my 36 pieces instead? It's a pity that I've seen through your thoughts. With that said, the dignified middle-aged man scattered the chess pieces in his hand on the chessboard. He clearly did not have the mood to continue playing chess. Di Wancheng also fell silent. The Whale Ocean Trade's myriad flags lineage was now playing a dangerous move. This move would last for thousands of years. However, no one in the Whale Ocean Trade could afford to pay the price of losing. The outcome of losing would be that everyone in the Whale Ocean Trade would become the People's Glory Empire's sinners. All of them would perish. After a short silence, Di Wanyan and Di Wancheng revealed frenzied expressions. Chapter 1466. Di Wanyan asked, Wancheng, how many creation masters did you say were participating in our experiment? A smile appeared on Di Wancheng's face. Big brother, there are too many Class 1 creation masters that registered. I can't remember them all. There are 621 Class 2 creation masters, 74 Class 3 creation masters, and 12 Class 4 creation masters. At this point, Di Wancheng paused for a moment before continuing. Big brother, these creation masters' lives should be enough to fill Third Sister's path to becoming a Class 5 creation master, right? But big brother, isn't it a bit too early for us to act now? When Di Wanyan heard Di Wancheng's words, he shook his head. He reached his hand into the chess pot and picked up a black chess piece. He said as he stroked the black chess piece. Early? It's getting late. Our previous plan was too late. However, who would have thought that due to fate, Hui Yao would have a conflict with the Sea Clan and set a 3-year agreement with the Freedom Federation. In addition, the Freedom Federation's envoys will be heading to Radiance to observe the Radiance 100 sequence selection. The Freedom Federation's envoys will definitely cause trouble during the Radiance 100 sequence selection. Those majesties are probably making arrangements for the Radiance 100 sequence selection in 3 months. It could be said that this is the moment when His Majesty's attention is at its weakest. Now is the best time for us to strike. Wancheng, don't forget that Third Sister's condition cannot be delayed. The longer this drags on, the worse Third Sister's condition will become. Hearing Di Wantian's words, Di Wancheng became firm. However, Di Wancheng's heart was still trembling. If even the slightest hint of this matter was leaked to any of the majesties, the Whale Ocean Trade would be finished. However, when he thought about how his third sister would be able to become a Class 5 creation master through these creation masters in a few days, Jiang Yi's heart skipped a beat. Di Wancheng couldn't help but relax. When his third sister became a Class 5 creation master, Hui Yao would have its 4th Class 5 creation master. The current situation where the 3 Class 5 creation masters reigned supreme would be split into 4. His third sister would take a share. Those low-class creation masters were already dead, and the Radiance's eminences had no reason to do so just because of those dead creation masters. What did he do to his third sister? Upon thinking of this, Di Wancheng even felt that the Whale Ocean Trade was contributing to the Republic of Radiance. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Di Wancheng furrowed his brows for a moment before relaxing and asking, "Is it Hao? Come in." No one dared to disturb Di Wantian's study room. Other than Di Wancheng and the so-called third sister, only Di Wanyan could enter the study room. Di Hao was the only son of Di Wanyan. Di Wantian's first wife had died early, so Di Wanyan doted on his only son, Zhai Hao. As soon as Di Wanyan finished speaking, a hoarse voice of a young man came from the door. "Father, Uncle Wu told me to tell you that the 4-legged beast region's people have been invited to our home as guests." At this point, Zhai Hao asked doubtfully, "Dad, why don't I see anyone from the 4-legged beast region? Furthermore, our Whale Ocean Trade deals in the distant seas. There is nothing to communicate with a faction like the 4-legged beast region that deals with beast-type phase." Hearing this, Di Wanyan stood up. He personally led Zhai Hao to his side and sat him down. "Hao, you don't have to worry about these things. Focus on practicing your combat skills. Your sacred source life form has only reached 3-star. You still have to work hard. Zhai Hao pouted and looked at Di Wanyan. He was a little dissatisfied with Di Wantian's attitude. Zhai Hao never understood why every time he had questions, Di Wanyan would always change the topic and not answer his questions directly. His father, Di Wanyan, would always change the topic and not answer his questions directly. It was just like how he had asked more than once about his third aunt's whereabouts. Every time, his father would say that his third aunt had gone out to train and had not returned yet. But what kind of training could last for more than a decade? In any case, Zhai Hao did not believe these words. Although Zhai Hao was a little dissatisfied with Di Wantian's urging, he still agreed. "Father, don't worry. You gave me so many suzerain metal ores last time. Once my sacred source life form digests all these ores, it will naturally reach 4-star. I heard that Chef Supreme's disciple's sacred source life form reached 4-star during the Evernight Assembly's civil and martial arena competition. When my sacred source life form reaches 4-star, I wonder who will be stronger, Chef Supreme's disciple or me." Zhai Hao's eyes were filled with yearning as he spoke. Seeing Zhai Hao's yearning gaze, Di Wantian's heart tightened. Ever since the Whale Ocean Trading and the Tower Cannon had formed an alliance, his third sister had discovered a strange path that could allow her to become a Class 5 creation master. Di Wanyan had isolated Zhai Hao. Firstly, he did not want Zhai Hao to know about the family's dirty affairs. Secondly, he did not want Zhai Hao to come into contact with the outside world and reveal his abilities. If Zhai Hao was too outstanding, he would definitely attract Her Majesty's attention to the Whale Ocean Trading. Di Wanyan felt guilty towards Zhai Hao. If the question had not been asked by Zhai Hao, Di Wanyan would not have hesitated to say that Zhong Zhe was stronger. Zhong Zhe's strength was not just because of his 4-star sacred source life form. It was also because Zhong Zhe had a desolate bloodline Fei. It was impossible for Zhai Hao to have a desolate bloodline Fei. However, the situation would soon change. Once his third sister became a Class 5 creation master, she would definitely have the ability to compete for a position under Her Majesty. When that time came, the Whale Ocean Trading would become Her Majesty's kin. Zhai Hao would also become Her Majesty's heir. Zhai Hao would naturally be qualified to obtain a desolate bloodline Fei. During these 2 years, his third sister, a Class 5 creation master, would fully nurture Zhai Hao. Why would Zhai Hao have to worry about not obtaining a position as a Radiance Envoy? When that time came, Zhai Hao would stand at the peak of thousands and enjoy the admiration of thousands. This was the path that Di Wanyan had paved for Zhai Hao. Now this path was about to be paved. Di Wanyan gave Zhai Hao a few more instructions, which made Zhai Hao annoyed. Zhai Hao found an excuse to leave Di Wantian's study room. Di Wanqing could not help but say as he watched Zhai Hao leave, "Big brother, Hao's sacred source life form might not have any special characteristics, but before Class 6, it has a killing power that other sacred source life forms cannot compare to." Under third sister's guidance, even if Hao not obtain the first position as a Radiance Envoy, it should not be a problem for him to obtain 4 or 5 positions. Hearing this, Di Wanyan nodded in agreement and said, "I cannot see through the Moon Empress disciple and Chief Guard Ye's disciple. The Moon Empress disciple's sacred source life form seems to be immune to elemental attributes, but the sacred source life form in the form of a young girl actually turned into a sword. I do not believe that the Moon Empress has a way to let her disciple contract 2 sacred source life forms at such a young age." Chapter 1467. Right now, Hao's strongest attack can barely reach the level of a myth breed, but the full-powered attack of the Moon Empress disciple 2 months ago can already reach the level of myth 3. It also contains a trace of the power of the world. Chief Guard Ye's disciple has summoned a total of 4 insect-type carcinoma phase. Furthermore, each insect-type carcinoma phase strength has reached Diamond X/Legend. Bureau Chief Ye's disciple is a natural disaster in human form. Once he matures, he can destroy the entire continent in an extremely short amount of time. Even if such a person isn't strong in a one-on-one fight, he's invincible in a group battle. In the Radiance Envoy's group battle selection, Chief Guard Ye's disciple will definitely obtain 10 points. Bamboo Monarch's disciple chose the Win Arena and did not participate. However, Rumor has it that Bamboo Monarch's disciple's sacred source life form has already reached 4 stars, and it just so happened that it was countered by Chef Supreme's disciple's sacred source life form. As for how far can go, it all depends on third sister's training. Second brother, go and make arrangements to kill everyone in the four-legged beast region apart from the creation masters. Send all the creation masters from the four-legged beast region to third sister and let her handle them. Di Wanqing asked hesitantly after hearing that. Big brother, should we let third sister deal with the creation masters first before we deal with the creation masters in the four-legged beast region? The Du family stands behind the four-legged beast region, a new peak power. Di Wanqing snorted coldly. That's right. If the Du family really wants to stand up for the four-legged beast region and send all of their members to our Whale Ocean Trading Company, do you think our Whale Ocean Trading Company is afraid of the Du family? 10 years ago, the Du family couldn't beat us in the battle for the mines. 10 years later, the Du family still can't protect the four-legged beast region. Moreover, I don't wish to hide anything from the creation master recruitment this time. When third sister becomes a class 5 creation master, even if the Hearthstone Du family finds out that my Whale Ocean trade destroyed the four-legged beast region, what will they do? Could it be that the camaraderie between factions gives the Du family the courage to be impudent in front of a class 5 creation master? When Di Wanqing heard Di Wantian's words, he immediately left to deal with the guests that Wu had tricked into coming to the four-legged beast region. After registering, he was preparing to work hard in the Spirit Lock spatial zone at night. As a result, Lin Yuan was stopped by Chimey. Over the past few days, whenever Chimey had been live-streaming on StarWeb, there would always be bullet comments saying that Chimey had been maliciously creating hype. He said that he wanted to use the StarWeb's income to establish a warm sun fund to help phase and spirit chi professionals. In the end, not a single sound was heard. At first, Chimey didn't care about the bullet comments, as Lin Yuan had already promised it. In Chimey's opinion, nothing would go wrong with what Lin Yuan had promised it. However, it was precisely because Chimey didn't care about the bullet screen. Many viewers in Yinin's live streaming room saw the bullet screen. Everyone started to discuss, causing many anchors in the attractive section to take the lead to question Chimey. This caused Chimey, a live streamer that had become popular on the Star Web the moment it debuted, to suffer a rare setback. For example, Yinin's live broadcast room had become a shuraba. This made it impossible for Chimey to sing in peace. In the face of all sorts of doubts, Chimey felt very wronged. In the beginning, he was a sound bird that didn't even know how to sing. He truly wanted to help phase like himself and Genius, as well as spirit chi professionals like Lin Yuan. He wasn't a swindler and black-hearted live streamer that the bullet screen said he was. The more Chimey thought about it, the sadder it got. When it explained the situation to Lin Yuan, its eyes involuntarily became wet, and 2 drops of tears rolled down. Lin Yuan didn't treat the Warm Sun Fund lightly. On the contrary, Lin Yuan had already made arrangements. He had asked the experienced Sun Ningxiang to help plan the Warm Sun Fund's development direction. No matter how capable Lin Yuan was, he was only one person. Doing things required time. Unexpectedly, some people on the Star Web couldn't wait any longer. They used this matter as a weapon to question and attack Chimey. Ever since Lin Yuan had formed a contract with Chimey, this was the 3rd time he had seen Chimey cry. The first 2 times Chimey had cried was because he had fainted. This time, Chimey was crying because it had suffered a great grievance. Lin Yuan quickly reached out and gently wiped Chimey's tears with his fingertips. Chimey, the Warm Sun Fund structure has been constantly being constructed. The starting point is the Xia region where we live together. I originally wanted to tell you that the Warm Sun Fund's first stop will officially begin in 2 days. Since you can't wait any longer, I'll spread the news tonight. Lin Yuan's tone became solemn. Chimey, no matter how powerful a person is, they will never be able to care about what is going on in someone else's head. But Chimey, you have to remember this saying. Do good deeds and don't ask about the future. Don't worry. Those voices that question you will all disappear tomorrow morning. You can live stream as usual tomorrow night. Although Lin Yuan had said this to Chimey, he was already really angry. The situation had developed so quickly and even reached such a scale. There must be someone pushing it from behind. The only ones who could push it were the anchors who clashed with Chimey. The human heart was made of flesh, and the audience's eyes were bright. This matter was enough to rise to a hot moral issue. Those anchors who tried to use morality to suppress Chimey were destined to suffer moral backlash after the Warm Sun Fund was officially launched. Lin Yuan didn't need to do anything. Those anchors who stirred up emotions would be besieged by star web netizens who knew the truth. Lin Yuan took out his cell phone and called Fan Hanxing, Sun Ningxiang, Long Tao, and Li Xian. Finally, he would finalize the Warm Sun Fund's matters. It was officially confirmed that the Warm Sun Fund's first stop would be officially launched tomorrow morning. The Warm Sun Fund was just a newly established charity fund. However, it had the plant species phase provided by the Dew Immortal Garden, the flying species phase provided by the Dawn Cloud Avian Niche, the dragon species phase provided by the Coiling Dragon Valley, and the insect species phase provided by the Brahma Insect Cage. There were also the offline channels of the 4 top factions. As for beast species phase, amphibious phase, and fish species phase, Lin Yuan had yet to find a channel for these phase. He could just use the Warm Sun Fund to buy them on StarWeb. Of course, this didn't mean that the phase obtained from the 4 top factions were free. The Dew Immortal Garden had now become a subordinate faction of Sky City, so it was another matter. Lin Yuan would purchase the corresponding phase for the Coiling Dragon Valley, the Dawn Cloud Avian Niche, and the Brahma Insect Cage according to the market price. However, the quality of the phase supplied for the Coiling Dragon Valley, the Dawn Cloud Avian Niche, and the Brahma Insect Cage had to be guaranteed. The Warm Sun Fund was Chimey's idea. Even without Chimey's idea, Lin Yuan already had plans to establish a charity fund. Lin Yuan didn't hope that those unfortunate people could become experts through the Warm Sun Fund. Instead, he hoped that those unfortunate people could live a little happier through the Warm Sun Fund. At the very least, they wouldn't have to struggle in misery like before. Instead, they could live a carefree life. Chapter 1468. The first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness and dispersed the night fog. It was daybreak. The chicken species phase reared in the Fei store on the street started to crow, causing a few complaints to be heard from the store. When a person woke up, it was usually the time when they were the most energetic. However, it wasn't the case for Li Ziqiang. After Li Ziqiang opened his eyes, he looked at the middle-aged woman beside him. He then couldn't help but lie on the bed in a daze. Li Ziqiang was an ordinary person and not a spirit qi professional. His wife was also an ordinary person. Not long ago, Li Ziqiang's son, Li Zhong, had just turned 8 years old. When he went to check on his talent, he confirmed that Li Zhong had the qualifications to become a spirit qi professional. His affinity with phase was power offense-type insect species phase. The Li family had only one son for 3 generations, and there had never been a spirit qi professional. Li Zhong's talent as a spirit qi professional was a glorious matter for the entire Li family. However, before Li Ziqiang and his wife could be happy for a few days, Wang Xueme had contracted a strange illness. She would feel dizzy and nauseous all day long, and she wouldn't have the strength to do anything. After eating for less than 5 minutes, she would vomit. Li Ziqiang found some experienced doctors to check on the situation. However, these experienced doctors couldn't see what illness Wang Xueme was suffering from. Li Ziqiang really had no other choice and spent a lot of money to find a healing-type spirit qi professional. After checking on Wang Xueme's situation, the healing-type spirit qi professional determined that Wang Xueme's soul should have a problem. It would cause dizziness, nausea, and weakness. If it was a spiritual problem, Li Ziqiang could find a healing-type spirit qi professional with a spiritual-type fei to immediately cure Wang Xueme's illness. However, when it came to the soul, the healing-type spirit qi professional wouldn't be able to handle it. In order to cure Wang Xueme, Li Ziqiang had to find a Class 2 or above creation master. This was because the spirit fluid concocted by a Class 1 creation master couldn't solve the problem of the soul. However, in order to get a Class 2 creation master to treat her, Li Ziqiang would need at least 20 radiance dollars. Li Ziqiang had some skills and had been working under a Class 1 spirit craftsman. Li Ziqiang had saved 17 or 18 radiance dollars after saving more than 10 years of time. Li Ziqiang had originally intended to use these 17 or 18 radiance dollars to choose an outstanding power of fence-type insect species Fei for his son, Li Zhong. An outstanding starter Fei would allow his son to have greater development in the future. Perhaps he might catch the eye of a teacher in an intermediate Spirit Chi Academy. He had been recommended from the Xia Region's Spirit Chi Academy to Redbud City's Spirit Chi Academy. However, his wife desperately needed the money to save her life. His son also needed this money to be one step ahead of others at the starting line. If Li Ziqiang contracted this strange illness, he would leave the money for his son to choose a Fei. But in the end, looking at the pained expression on his sleeping wife's face, Li Ziqiang steeled his heart and thought to himself, he would go out to borrow some money later. Even if he had to go into debt, he had to cure his wife. As for his son, he would take care of himself. What kind of man would he be if he didn't save his wife when she was sick? At the thought of this, Li Ziqiang quickly got up and went to his elder sister's house in the Xia region to borrow money. After spending 20 radiance dollars, he pulled some strings again. In the evening, Wang Xuemei had returned to normal. Li Ziqiang was afraid that Wang Xuemei wouldn't be willing to treat her if she knew he had to spend 20 radiance dollars. Thus, he had been hiding it from Wang Xuemei. When Wang Xuemei found out that Li Ziqiang had spent 20 radiance dollars to treat her, she immediately cried. Wang Xuemei blamed herself and started crying. Big drops of tears rolled down her cheeks. Upon seeing the situation, Li Ziqiang reached out to hug Wang Xuemei and gently patted her shoulder. Although he was comforting Wang Xuemei, Li Ziqiang also revealed a bitter smile. To owe his elder sister's family 3 radiance dollars, Li Ziqiang would have to work hard to earn it for a year and a half. When it came to his son, he could only choose a normal power offense-type insect species Fei with uncertain abilities and exclusive skills. Spirit Chi professionals couldn't change the contract with a Fei. If this power offense-type insect species Fei reached bronze, the awakened exclusive skill would be useless, or it wouldn't be suitable for offense. Even if his son became a Spirit Chi professional, he would only be able to blend into the masses. Just as the husband and wife were walking home in a lonely manner, they saw a lot of people queuing up in front of a building and discussing something. As they were discussing, Li Ziqiang and Wang Xuemei could vaguely hear the words Fei, free, and so on. Perhaps he felt that the queue was a little messy, so a Spirit Chi professional walked out of the building and said loudly, "Everyone, be quiet. Line up properly. I will count the people in a while. I'll do a head count later. Those who are ranked below 500 can come back tomorrow morning after 7 o'clock. Otherwise, even if we line up until nighttime, we might not be able to get anyone. In addition, everyone has to remember that when choosing a Fei, you have to go to the Xia region's administrative officer to complete the corresponding identity verification procedures. Otherwise, you won't be able to obtain the Warm Sun Foundation's Fei." After hearing the staff member's words, many of the people in the queue expressed their gratitude. They immediately turned around and rushed to the administrative office where the Xia region's administrative officer was located. Many of the people here had heard the news when they were passing by and had joined in. Therefore, they didn't know the rules. Only those who had lined up earlier and understood the rules would go through the procedures at the administrative officer's office. There were already plenty of people who had completed the procedures at the administrative officer's office and had their identities verified. They brought their children or themselves into the building to receive a suitable Fei. The Xia region might be a small place, but in the Radiance Federation, every citizen had the right to log into the Star Web. Chimey was a phenomenal host on the Star Web. Among the pedestrians who were singing, at least 3 out of 10 of them were singing the songs that Chimey had sung before. After hearing the words Warm Sun Foundation, many of them immediately took out their mobile phones and recorded a short video. They were prepared to record everything and post it on the Star Web. Things were going so smoothly that they could even go to the administrative officer's office to verify the situation. Firstly, it was due to the massive offline channels that the 4 major factions had. Secondly, it was also because Lin Yuan had informed Elder Ning in advance, and Elder Ning had informed Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had immediately given an order to the Xia region's administrative officer. He had asked the Xia region's administrative officer to fully cooperate with the Warm Sun Foundation. The Warm Sun Foundation's first stop in Redbud City's Xia region was an opportunity for Redbud City. Redbud City had a lot of rain throughout the year, and there were many mountains and dense forests. There was even a side of the sea that was covered with submerged reefs. It was impossible to construct a dock to berth large fish phase. It could be said that when compared to other major cities, Redbud City didn't have any advantages. Chapter 1469. Ling Xiao had already learned from Elder Ning who was behind the Nuanyang Fund. It was the disciple that he had personally sent to the Moon Empress, Lin Yuan. Moreover, the Warm Sun Fund was not just Lin Yuan's matter alone. He had also pulled in 4 top factions. It could be said that the scale of all the charity funds that had appeared in Radiance was no match for the Warm Sun Fund. News of the Nuanyang Fund would be posted on the Star Web today. As the scale of the Warm Sun Fund increased, it would soon spread throughout the Star Web. At that time, the exposure of the Nuanyang Fund was equivalent to the exposure of Redbud City. Perhaps this matter could even attract some rising and established powers to move their headquarters to Redbud City. This wasn't the first time Ling Xiao wanted to take the initiative to communicate with Lin Yuan. However, after some consideration, Ling Xiao finally gave up on the idea of taking the initiative to look for Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was doing a good deed of helping others unconditionally. This kind of thing should not be involved with his own little calculations. Ning Yanting was a veteran of Redbud City, and with Ning Yanting communicating with Lin Yuan would be able to communicate with him. He did not need to communicate with Lin Yuan again. Ling Xiao made up his mind. In the future, as long as it was related to the Warm Sun Fund, he would cooperate unconditionally. It was said that the Nuanyang Fund was in contact with some counties outside of Xia region. Ling Xiao decided to personally pave the way for the Warm Sun Fund. He must not allow the Moon Empress disciples' free heart to be tainted by the selfish desires of some vile people. After Li Ziqiang understood the situation, he anxiously dragged his wife, Wang Xuemei, and his son, Li Zhong, to the administrator to verify the situation. At this moment, Wang Xuemei, who had always been cautious, spoke to Li Ziqiang. "Hubby, take Zhong, or Lord Fong to verify the situation. Let's split up. I'll stay here and observe the situation." After living for so many years, Wang Xuemei had never encountered such a pie falling from the sky. Although it seemed that there was no problem at all. But it was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't be tricked once he entered the house. For a family like Wang Xuemei who was in debt, any loss was unbearable. Therefore, Wang Xuemei wanted to understand the situation first. He wanted to see if the people who came out of the houses had obtained any phase. Li Ziqiang felt that Wang Xuemei's words were reasonable. "Alright, then I'll first bring Zhong, to the administrative office to verify the situation with Lord Fong. After verifying the situation, I'll come here. I'll be lining up here all night. I will strive to let Zhong, obtain a fei tomorrow." Li Ziqiang decided to stay up all night to queue here because he was afraid that the site opened by the Nuanyang Fund might be cancelled one day. When Li Ziqiang returned home after work, he would always surf the Star Web. Li Ziqiang loved listening to songs, so it was impossible for him not to know about the sparrow voice Lowly Goddess. Although Li Ziqiang had never tipped Chimey before, he was definitely Chimey's old fan. Li Ziqiang happened to watch the livestream where the sparrow voice Lowly Goddess announced that she was going to establish the Warm Sun Foundation. In Li Ziqiang's opinion, the sparrow voice Lowly Goddess had taken out all the money she had earned to set up the Warm Sun Fund. However, no matter how much money the Nuanyang Fund had, it could not withstand such a consumption. Li Ziqiang returned home and brought Li Zhong to the administrative office. During the verification process, Wang Xuemei noticed that almost everyone who entered the room would walk out with a fei in pleasant surprise. All of a sudden, the sharp-eyed Wang Xuemei noticed a familiar face among these people. Wang Xuemei quickly took 2 steps forward and asked the young girl who was walking over, "Little Lan, why are you here?" "Little Lan, why are you here? I'm going to bake some sesame seed cakes tonight. I'll send some over to you after I'm done. Don't be polite with Auntie Wang this time. The young girl standing in front of Zhang Xuelon looked at Wang Xueme with gratitude and said, "Thank you, Auntie Wang. Thank you, Auntie Wang." While speaking, Zhang Lan had some doubts in her heart. Wang Xueme's family conditions weren't bad, and she had at least over 10 radiance dollars in savings. The Nuanyang Fund helped those who didn't have savings and were truly in trouble. Wang Xueme didn't meet the conditions of the Nuanyang Fund at all. At that moment, Zhang Lan heard Wang Xueme's hopeful voice. "Little Lan, are feis given out for free here?" Zhang Lan nodded and replied, "It is true that feis are given out for free here. This place is indeed giving out feis for free. Furthermore, it will choose the feis abilities and exclusive skills based on the Spirit Chi professional's talent. We also receive patients here and can help those who don't have the ability to seek medical treatment. The reason I came here is to treat my leg injury. Auntie Wang, now that my leg injury has recovered, I can go and earn money to take care of Grandma from now on." After speaking, Zhang Lan seemed to want to share her joy and jogged in front of Wang Xueme. Immediately after, Zhang Lan explained the rules in detail to Li Xueme. Then she skipped home, ready to share her happiness with her grandmother. Upon hearing that, Li Xueme felt a little complicated. If Li Ziqiang had chosen to use his family's money to prepare feis for his son, she would have come here to treat her illness. According to the review rules, she wouldn't have been able to pass the review at all. Fortunately, Li Ziqiang had chosen to spend all his family's savings to treat her. Because of her illness, her family was in debt, which was why she was able to meet the Nuanyang Medical Center's review standards. At that moment, she was very happy and thankful. She was happy that Li Ziqiang loved her, and at the same time, she was thankful for the kindness of the person who sponsored the Nuanyang Fund. It was the kindness of the person who sponsored the Nuanyang Fund that ignited hope for her small family. On this night, the Star Web was not peaceful at all. The Xia region's Star Web netizens only took up a small portion of the Star Web. However, those videos and pictures of the Nuanyang Fund were like a prairie fire. When Chimey was live-streaming at night, it was afraid of encountering the previous situation again. As expected, once Chimey started live-streaming, those haters and fake reviewers in Chimey's live-streaming room kept sending bullet comments to question Chimey. Chimey recalled that Lin Yuan had said that it could live-stream with peace of mind tonight, so it didn't bother about the bullet comments. It just minded its own business and sang a song. The night wind blows the white hair on your temples, soothing the scars left behind by memories in your eyes. Light and darkness are intertwined. A smile blossoms, the twilight conceals your unsteady steps. Walking into the bedside to hide the painting in the painting, you speak with your head lowered, eyes still lament at the vastness of the world and indulge in the love words of my childhood, leaving no truth or falsehood, without struggle. Pointless jokes, I finally returned my youth to her, along with the midsummer that flicked from my fingertips with a move of my heart. It goes with the wind in the name of love. Are you still willing? At that moment, some strange noises were heard among the bullet screens that were questioning Chimey. Chapter 1470. Wenzi, so many of you are scolding Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. Are you sincere? If you're sincere, then your hearts are black. There was no host on StarWeb who was willing to take out all their income to set up a fund. Since the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess dared to say it, she would definitely do it. How long has it been since the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess mentioned preparing the Warm Sun Fund? Do you think it doesn't take time to prepare a fund? Did he say that he could immediately prepare it tomorrow? If you haters had been incited to attack the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess, it would still be understandable. However, if you were hired by someone to earn money against your conscience, wouldn't your hearts hurt? Wenzi was furious when she sent the bullet screen. Wenzi was not an old fan of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. The Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess had been live-streaming on the Star Web for more than 8 months. Wenzi had only entered the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's livestream room by chance 2 months ago. Wenzi did not know much about the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. She only liked its singing. Wenzi would memorize the lyrics of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess song and learn to sing it. When did Wenzi truly become a fan of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess and love her from the bottom of her heart? It was the night when the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess revealed her face and live-streamed about establishing the Warm Sun Foundation. A talented person would only be appreciated by others. Only with virtue would people find her adorable. Previously, Wenzi had visited the live broadcast rooms of other talent and attractive anchors. Wenzi was more or less familiar with the fans on the leaderboard. Many of the people who were spamming the bullet screen and scolding the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess were people that Wenzi was familiar with. Wenzi's words were for these people to see. But the bullet screen was just too fast. Wenzi's serious message was quickly overwhelmed by the other messages on the bullet screen. However, it was undeniable that Wenzi's bullet screen was seen by many viewers in the live stream. Many old fans of the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess responded to Wenzi's bullet screen comments. They even copied Wenzi's bullet screen and sent it out. In any matter, disagreements would lead to disputes. Chaime's live-streaming room was no exception. As Chaime sang, its gaze never left the bullet screen. It could be said that Chaime had seen every bullet screen in the live-streaming room. Suddenly, Chaime felt that its singing was a little boring. He was now working so hard to live-stream in order to help more Fays or people like him, Genius, and Lin Yuan in the past. But in the end, he was misunderstood by others, and the live broadcast room was filled with arguments. The little soundbird was unwilling to be wronged like this. Chaime felt a little tired. This was because Chaime wasn't happy singing at all. Chaime suddenly missed the days when it often followed by Lin Yuan's side and landed in his ear to sing for him alone. With this in mind, Chaime stopped singing. Chaime said as it looked at the bullet screen in the live-streaming room, "I'm a little tired from singing. I hope we can meet again." After speaking, Chaime left Star Web and didn't bother about the audience in the live-streaming room. Upon seeing Chaime go offline, many anchors lurking in Chaime's talent area and attractive area revealed smiles on their faces. It could be said that Chaime's appearance was equivalent to snatching their rice bowls. Music wasn't mainstream in the Radiance Federation, and the talent zone was just a small area on Star Web. Although Chaime was live-streaming in Star Web's 2nd District's attractive section, Chaime had been covering its face. It was not a threat to those top streamers in the attractive section who relied on their looks to make a living. However, ever since Yin had revealed its face, the hosts in the attractiveness section had suffered a blow. Therefore, many streamers in the attractive section and the music section contacted each other to suppress the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess. If the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess had stopped her live stream to give an explanation and report on the progress of the preparation of the Warm Sun Fund, these Star Web streamers who had hired fake reviewers might feel a headache. Because once things got complicated, these paid posters would have to be paid extra. Now, the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess did not even bother to explain and just went offline. It could be understood as a sign of guilt. Now that the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess had run away, they could say whatever they wanted in the live-streaming room. At that moment, Bai Hao happened to enter the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess's live-streaming room. Bai Hao, who had entered the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess's live-stream room, felt a little confused. Just now, when he was watching the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess's live-stream from outside, there was still a streamer doing the live-stream. Why did the host disappear the moment she entered? As the Radiance 100 sequence selection was imminent, Bai Hao's 100 sequence ranking would change. Bai Hao had the thought of rushing up, so he had been training more. He did not have time to surf the Star Web. Just as Bai Hao was about to give gifts, he saw the bullet comments in the live-streaming room. Bai Hao was so angry that he did not care about his Radiance 100 sequence member identity and personally sent bullet comments to go against the fake reviewers like a young kid. Because the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess had been humiliated, Bai Hao did not care about propriety when he went against the fake reviewers. His words were as nasty as they could be. Bai Hao's bullet comments really suppressed many fake reviewers and hosts. The Star Web had real name authentication. If Bai Hao wanted to contact the Star Web to investigate this matter, it would be very easy to find out their identities. However, not everyone was afraid of Bai Hao. Some of the famous Star Web streamers had some factions behind them. These famous streamers were able to have such a smooth sailing life because of the support of factions. When these famous streamers targeted the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess, They had checked and reported to the factions behind them in advance. If something went wrong, the factions behind them would cover for them. Seeing by how going against the fake reviewers, Poison Beauty, who was lurking in the live streaming room, shook her head. Poison Beauty would appear in the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's live streaming room. She did not bring the fake reviewers to the Black Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. Poison Beauty was just an ordinary listener of the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. But then again, Poison Beauty was very popular on the Star Web now. Previously, she could only be considered a small host outside the 5-star region in the Star Web's largest region. In order to have people watching her live streaming, she had no choice but to be stuck on the 100th floor of the Star Web Tower. She became the Celestial Stairway's goalkeeper. Later, Poison Beauty's number of fans had soared because she had ridden on Black Sparrow's popularity twice. Furthermore, she had seized the opportunity and used all her skills to retain that part of her popularity. Afterward, she was signed by the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce and became its selling host. She sold luxury items that cost at least 10,000 Radiance dollars per unit. This had allowed Poison Beauty to gain more fans. On the other hand, it had also allowed her to have a good offline income. The Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce had very strict rules that did not allow the signed hosts to have any negative influence. Due to this job, Poison Beauty could not speak for the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess in the live streaming room. She did not dare to be like Bai Hao, who could unscrupulously send bullet comments to go against the fake reviewers. Chapter 1471. However, Poison Beauty had a hunch that the people from the Black Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess would not have a good ending. In the end, none of them would have a good ending. Since the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess had said that she would forcefully take out all of her income to establish the Warm Sun Fund, it would not be empty talk. It could not be empty talk. The Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's daily donations were over 1 million Radiance dollars. The Warm Sun Fund's Radiance dollar reserves were at least 100 million. If a charity fund of 100 million Radiance dollars was spent, it would definitely become a hot topic on StarWeb. At such a time, using this matter to attack the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess was simply digging a hole for herself. She was simply digging a hole for herself and complaining that she was not dying fast enough. At that moment, a special bullet comment appeared in the live streaming room. Black Feather of Annihilation, I'm asking if those haters and fake reviewers' faces hurt? Black Feather of Annihilation's bullet comment was very short, and there was also a Star Web link below. In the live streaming room, if one wanted to post a link in the bullet comment, one would need to spend money. This was an act of advertising. The money spent was 5% of the live streaming host's daily income. The Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's live streaming lasted less than 20 minutes and stopped before the 5th song was finished. During this period, the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess had earned at least 800,000 Radiance dollars. In other words, Black Feather of Annihilation had spent at least 40,000 Radiance dollars to post this link. What kind of information would be worth 40,000 Radiance dollars? Many viewers in the live streaming room were rather curious and clicked in one after another. As a result, the viewers and internet water army in the live streaming room who clicked in were shocked by the contents of the page. On the page was a very simple Star Web freewheeling post. This kind of freewheeling post was like a diary, which could record one's life at will and publish it on one's homepage. This post was the confession of a pitiful person. However, this pitiful person had grabbed the starlight in despair. The post looked like a story, but there was also a video attached at the end. Upon seeing the content of this long video, many viewers and fake reviewers fell silent. Because in the video, there was an organization called the Warm Sun Foundation, which was spreading hope non-stop. It was saving every ordinary person. The one spreading all this hope was the young girl who had just been questioned and slandered in the live streaming room. That young girl had ended the live streaming. Perhaps a person would be sad because he was doubted, or wronged because he was wronged. More and more people clicked on the post. More and more people were willing to spend 40,000 Radiance dollars to share the post in the live streaming room again. The sparks in the Xia region had finally started a prairie fire in Chime's live streaming room. The internet water army no longer slandered him. There were even quite a few internet water armies with a conscience who began to apologize in the live broadcast room. Sparrow voice lowly goddess, I'm sorry. In the live broadcast room where there were no live streamers performing, the comments kept rolling. The last line of the Sparrow voice lowly goddess's song before the live stream unknowingly echoed in the hearts of everyone in the livestream channel. In the name of love, are you still willing? This matter was constantly fermenting on StarWeb. Many of the streamers who had hired the Internet Water Army to lead this incident were exposed. The money that had been invested in Chimey had now been returned to those live streamers who had caused trouble. The turbid waves on the StarWeb were surging, but at this moment, there was another wave. It was bigger and fiercer than the waves on the StarWeb. On the surface of the deep blue sea, the turbid waves hit the island, raising waves 30 to 40 meters high. Two island whales that were tens of thousands of meters long sailed side by side in the sea. Since the Celestial Body Council wasn't held as usual, Lin became gloomy. In another day, it would be time for the next Celestial Body Council to be held. However, would the next Celestial Body Council be held as scheduled? If he couldn't, would he lose the one who could save him from the darkness? Amidst the stars, the man who was surrounded by willpower and laws. At that moment, two knocks came from outside Lin's door. Subsequently, a gentle voice echoed. Lord Azure Envoy, Lord Lan Sun wants to look for you to discuss the temporary cooperation agreement proposed by the Freedom Federation's envoy. Lin frowned slightly when she heard that. Lin didn't like to be disturbed when she was thinking. However, since Lan Sun was looking for her, and it was to discuss important matters, she should go over. Lin stood up and opened the door with a wave of her azure blue dress. Seeing Lin, the youth who came to pass the message blushed and couldn't help but lower his head. His voice also became like a mosquito. Lin looked down at the youth beside her and said, Jiang Song, lead the way. Lead the way, Jiang Song. The youth called Jiang Song heard that and immediately realized that he had lost his composure. He hurriedly took 2 steps forward to lead the way. The floating island whale's back was too long. It took more than 10 minutes to walk from Lin's room to the meeting place. Just as Jiang Song was nervously leading the way, he heard an ethereal and cold voice coming from behind him. Jiang Song, what's wrong? Teacher Lan Sun is tempted by the short-term cooperation proposed by the Freedom Federation's envoy. Jiang Song heard that and hurriedly shook his head. I don't know what conditions the Freedom Federation's envoy gave, and I can't see through Lord Lan Sun's intentions. I just feel that the relationship between our Azure Federation and the Radiance Federation is better than with the Freedom Federation. The purpose of our trip to the Radiance Federation this time is just to observe the ceremony and witness the coronation of the Azure Envoy. The Freedom Federation and the Radiance Federation have set a 2-year agreement. It's clear that they have entered a hostile state. The Freedom Federation's envoy coming to the Radiance Federation must be up to no good. I mentioned this to Lord Lan Sun, and although he didn't say anything, I feel that he is very certain of what I said. Lin heard that and nodded without continuing to speak. Lin was the 4th Azure Envoy. To Lin, choosing benefits was the most beneficial thing for herself and the Azure Federation. Jiang Song did not know the conditions that the Freedom Federation's envoy gave, but Lin was very clear. The Freedom Federation promised to give her a relic refined from a sacred source lifeform's body that was at least 5-star. No one would not be tempted by such a benefit. However, Lin instinctively rejected the Freedom Federation's proposal. The reason was very simple. It was because of what the man who saved her said. He told her to go to the Radiance Federation's Royal Capital Listening Heron Union headquarters to exchange for Heavenly Maiden-grade elemental pearls. This meant that the man was most likely from the Radiance Federation. Lin was not willing to do anything that was disadvantageous to the Federation that the man might have come from. Along the way to the meeting room, Lin heard a somewhat shrill voice just as she reached the door. Lord Lan Sun, I suggest forming a short-term alliance with the Freedom Federation's envoy. We and the Freedom Federation's envoy are all guests to the Radiance Federation. Our 2 states' envoys should form an alliance so that we can take care of each other. Chapter 1472. At this point, the sharp voice paused for a moment before continuing. In addition, the Freedom Federation's diplomatic corps is also willing to provide each of us with a cocoon demon embryo. The cocoon demon embryo can allow insect-type cancer phase to transform into demonic-type source-type lifeforms. By transforming the insect-type tumor phase into a demon-type source-type lifeform, the insect-type tumor phase will be able to break through its grade and evolve into a myth breed. Hearing this sharp voice, Yin Lin, who was standing at the door, immediately pushed the door open and said coldly, "Zhen Kulian, you told me about the function of the cocoon demon embryo. But if you really took the Freedom Federation's cocoon demon embryo, would you dare to use it to nurture an insect-type carcinoma phase? For the Freedom Federation to not use such a good thing, don't you think it's laughable that it's given to you? You come from a 4-star clan, and as the inheritor of a 4-star beast mark, you shouldn't have never heard of the death of the fluorescent earthworm that happened on the Freedom Federation's 16 islands, right?" Hearing Yin Lin's words, everyone in the conference room looked at Yin Lin's face. The 10 youths, including Zhen Kulian, quickly stood up and bowed to Yin Lin. When Yin Lin mentioned the death of the fluorescent earthworm, everyone's expression froze. This incident was too famous. The 16 islands of the Freedom Federation, tens of millions of square kilometers of land. Even after 20 years, the tens of millions of square kilometers of land that had been ravaged by the fluorescent earthworms could not survive. It was still unable to grow any plant-type phase. As a result, the Freedom Federation's 16 islands had been importing large quantities of plant-type phase, foodstuffs, and spirit fruits for the past 20 years. Due to the large population of the 16 islands, in order to ensure the food needs of the islands, the Freedom Federation had no choice but to dispatch dozens of island whales to provide resources for the 16 islands. It was hard to estimate just how much resources the Freedom Federation had lost because of the fluorescent earthworm sorrow incident. The death of the fluorescent earthworm was a vicious incident caused by an insect-type carcinoma phase. It was caused by a source-type item called the cocoon demon embryo. The source-type cocoon demon embryo could break the shackles of the insect-type carcinoma phase and allow them to break through the limit of Diamond X/Legend. It was enough to prove the preciousness of the source-type cocoon demon embryo. In fact, the drawback of the entire process was not due to the cocooning of the demon embryo. Instead, it had appeared on the insect-type carcinoma phase. The insect-type carcinoma phase intelligence was chaotic, even if it was at Diamond X/Legend. Most of the insect species' carcinoma phase could only rely on their instincts. During the process of transforming the insect-type carcinoma phase into demonic spirits, it was unable to increase the intelligence of these insect-type carcinoma phase. As a result, these spiritless insect species phase could not be controlled by humans. A single gold carcinoma phase was enough to cause panic. Even if Her Majesty made a move, she would only be able to stop the damage. But when the carcinoma phase broke through its genetic shackles and advanced to suzerain, it would become a suzerain phase. Even a harmless insect species carcinoma phase was enough to cause a natural disaster. If a calamity-grade cancer phase wreaked havoc, it might destroy a continent's ecological balance. The Freedom Federation had sent out a total of 7 majesties to deal with the glowing earthworm's sorrow. Afterward, even if a Class 5 creation master presided over the 16 islands, he still wasn't able to restore the 16 islands' soil to its original state after spending 20 years. As an Azure envoy, he had no choice but to deal with something that could threaten the safety of the Azure Federation. Yin Lin couldn't allow anyone to bring it back to the Azure Federation. The Azure Federation had once produced a source-type item that could transform any Fae into a demonic spirit-type source-type life form. It was the Fairy's Heart. Those Fairy's Hearts had been sold for almost as much as an uncontracted sacred source life form in the Azure auction house. The Fairy's Heart and the cocoon demon embryo had similar effects. However, the Fairy's Heart was controlled by the soul of the Fairy's Heart. The cocoon demon embryo only strengthened the insect-type carcinoma phase soul. Yin Lin had never heard of anyone being able to contract or control a carcinoma phase to fight. Yin Lin looked at the 10 young men and women in front of her and said coldly, "The cocoon demon embryo is so tempting. Since you're so moved by the cocoon demon embryo, I'm sure the freedom mission has already given it to you. Now, all of you hand over the cocoon demon embryo to me. You can't bring it back without permission and endanger the Azure Federation. Yin Lin's words caused the woman called Zhen Kuyen's expression to turn a little tense. Zhen Kuyen spoke up. Lady Yin Lin, I have a four-winged demon. It is an insect species carcinoma Fey modified from a cocoon demon embryo, and it only has 2 wings at most. I can let my contracted four-winged demon use its bloodline power to control the insect-type carcinoma Fey. Zhen Kuyen's words caused the expressions of the other 9 youths to change. Just now, Lord Yin Lin had given an order, but Zhen Kuyen had questioned it. This was undoubtedly an affront to Lady Yin Lin. Offending the Azure Envoy was a serious crime. If Lord Yin Lin wanted to pursue the matter, he could do so after returning to the Azure Federation. Zhen Kuyen would be directly banished to the Sea Labyrinth. Just when everyone thought that Yin Lin would use Zhen Kuyen to establish her dominance, everyone saw Yin Lin raise her hand. He summoned a fairy with long, dark blue hair. 3 pairs of wings were flapping on the back of this fairy with long, dark blue hair. Yin Lin said faintly, "My 6-winged demon's bloodline can suppress your 4-winged demon's bloodline and turn it into an insect-type carcinoma Fey. If I can have a 6-winged fairy, others can too. Do you think it's safe to let you use the cocoon to transform into a demon embryo to modify an insect-type carcinoma Fey?" Yin Lin's words startled Zhen Kuyen. Immediately, Zhen Kuyen's face turned red, and she felt apprehensive. Zhen Kuyen had indeed not thought so much before. Now, it seemed that her previous thoughts were indeed not safe. Furthermore, she seemed to have accidentally offended Yin Lin. What should she do? From the start, Zhen Kuyen had not been convinced by Yin Lin. Zhen Kuyen was born in a 4-star family in the Azure Federation and had possessed a 4-star beast pattern since she was young. She was a proud daughter of heaven who had been pampered since she was young. Zhen Kuyen understood that it was impossible for her to become an Azure Envoy, so she had set her sights on the Azure Knights. But who would have thought that Yin Lin would become the 4th Azure Envoy out of nowhere without a word? Could it be because Yin Lin was a genius with 2 beast patterns? Zhen Kuyen, who was also a genius, felt unfair for the first time. When she had first boarded the floating island whale, Zhen Kuyen had specially checked on Yin Lin. She had discovered that Yin Lin had been a C-rank Spirit Chi professional. Even if she had just become a B-rank Spirit Chi professional, she was still not presentable. Even in the entire Azure 100 sequence, there was not a single C-rank Spirit Chi professional. In fact, the top few might break through to A-rank at any time. Chapter 1473. Yin Lin had casually summoned the 6-winged demon. This was the first time Yin Lin had shown her edge. It also made Zhen Kuyen realize the gap between them. A diamond 6-winged demon was enough to prove too many things. Zhen Kuyen was clear that with just this diamond 6-winged demon, Yin Lin could press herself against the ground. Zhen Kuyen stared at Yin Lin and apologized sincerely. "Madam Yin Lin, I don't want to keep the cocoon demon embryos for myself. I'll give them to you now." After speaking, Zhen Kuyen took out the cocoon demon embryos from her storage equipment and handed them to Yin Lin with both hands. Zhen Kuyen's actions reminded the others. The others all took out the cocoon demon embryos and handed them to Yin Lin. There were no more, no less. There were no less than 10 cocoon demon embryos in their hands. At this moment, Lan Sun, who had been sitting in the main seat without saying a word, stood up and also took out 2 cocoon demon embryos and handed them over. "Madam Azure Envoy, the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission also gave me 2 cocoon demon embryos. I'll give them to Madam as well." Lan Sun's words shocked everyone present. As the Azure Sacred Hall's Hall Master, Lan Sun's status wasn't lower than the Azure Envoys. There was no need to call Yin Lin Madam. Lan Sun doing this was clearly to establish Yin Lin's prestige. Lan Sun stood up from the main seat and walked to Yin Lin's side. He smiled and pointed to the main seat. "Madam Azure Envoy, please take a seat." After speaking, Lan Sun pulled over a chair. He directly sat on the first seat to the right of the main seat. Seeing this, Yin Lin recalled the conversation Lan Sun had with her the night before. Yin Lin didn't bother with pleasantries and directly walked to the main seat. Yin Lin, who had put away the 12 cocoon demon embryos, sat on the main seat and said, "Everyone, please sit. Everyone, take a seat. On the way here, I learned about the situation from Jiang Song. Let me talk about my attitude towards the Freedom Federation's diplomatic mission and the Radiance Federation." While speaking, Yin Lin waved her hand again. As Yin Lin waved her hand, nothing happened in this small room. But in the sea outside, the water currents rose and covered the surface of the island whale that the Azure Federation's diplomatic mission was riding with a light blue water film. This light blue water film seemed to be able to shield everything. As a result, the aura, sound, and scenery within were all isolated from the outside world. The appearance of this water membrane caused the expressions of the people on the other floating island whale to darken. Yin Lin had used the sacred source life form to create a layer of water barrier, which was equivalent to expressing her attitude towards the Freedom Mission. This barrier kept the Freedom Federation's envoys at bay. Yin Lin looked at everyone in the conference room and said, "This time, the envoys are heading to the Radiance Federation to attend the ceremony to celebrate the Radiance 100 Sequence's success. The Radiance Federation and our Azure Federation have always had a good relationship. The trade of the Radiance Blue Route for so many years has promoted the common prosperity of the Radiance Federation and the Azure Federation. Since we're all going to attend the ceremony, we shouldn't cause trouble for no reason. Do you all understand what I mean?" Yin Lin's tone didn't sound like she was discussing, but more like she was telling everyone her decision. Since it was a decision, there was no room for discussion. The 10 Azure 100 sequence members in the room responded to Yin Lin's decision. Yin Lin nodded to Lan Sun, who was next to her, and walked out of the conference room. Now, Yin Lin's mind was filled with thoughts about whether the Celestial Body Conference would be held as usual tomorrow. She didn't have the mood to work on other things. Seeing Yin Lin leave, Lan Sun's face revealed a worried expression. 5 days ago, Lan Sun had sensed that something was wrong with Yin Lin. Since then, Yin Lin had been absent-minded. Over the past 2 days, Yin Lin's emotions had become increasingly obvious. Lan Sun had tried to find out about Yin Lin's situation, but Yin Lin hadn't said anything. Lan Sun was very afraid that something had happened to Yin Lin. Others might not know, but Lan Sun knew how precious Yin Lin's talent was. Among the 12 Azure families, only the Azure Cloud Leopard family had 3 terms, which meant that there hadn't been a child who had awakened the Azure Cloud Leopard's beast pattern in 15 years. In the previous Azure envoys, the other 11 Azure families had frantically fought for the 4 spots. However, as long as the Azure Cloud Leopard family had a child who had awakened the beast pattern, they would definitely be selected and become Azure envoys. This was because the Azure Cloud Leopard's ability, Cloud Chain, was an extremely perfect scouting and communication ability. This scouting and communication ability was an indispensable ability in the 10,000 States Conference. Yin Lin had been able to become an Azure envoy out of nowhere because of the Azure Cloud Leopard's beast pattern. Yin Lin's spiritual speech White Lion's beast pattern could allow Yin Lin to use the spiritual speech White Lion to predict misfortune. Prediction was an ability that was even more advanced than scouting. Yin Lin's sacred source life form's ability was shielding, which increased Yin Lin's anti-scouting ability. Although Yin Lin's combat ability might not be very outstanding with her overall qualities. When the current generation's 5th Azure Envoy was confirmed, Yin Lin might take another step forward. From the current 4th Azure Envoy to the 3rd Azure Envoy. In addition, that old fellow from the Azure Cloud Leopard family was very willing to give his granddaughter, Yin Lin. He even let Yin Lin eat the precious spirit-containing strange ginseng. Even if Yin Lin did not do anything, her body could automatically gather the free spirit chi in the air. She could increase the rank of a spirit chi professional at twice the speed of a normal person. In less than half a year, Yin Lin would probably be able to become an A-rank spirit chi professional from the new B rank. Lan Sun did not approve of reaching a short-term cooperation agreement with the Freedom Federation's envoys. Lan Sun had left them alone because he wanted to use this opportunity to investigate the character of these 10 newly selected members of the Azure 100 sequence. Although Lan Sun was not satisfied with Zhen Keyan's performance. Fortunately, Zhen Keyan had repented in time and did not make any mistakes. The Azure Federation's envoys meeting had just ended, but the Freedom Federation's meeting had just begun. A tall and skinny youth with shrewd eyes was constantly tapping the table with his fingers, emitting a sound. He was obviously thinking about something. 3 old men sat beside the youth. Among the 10 obviously younger youths, 7 of them were looking at the tall and skinny youth, who was tapping the table with his fingers. The other 3 youths, 2 men and 1 woman, had very calm expressions. It was as though they were not nervous at all. While the tall and skinny young man was pondering, the woman among them said directly, "Big Brother Qian, these people from the Azure Federation really don't know what's good for them. But I feel that it's fine if the Azure Federation people don't cooperate with us. Our purpose of going to the Radiance Federation this time is to find out the specific situation of the Radiance Moon Empress and see the extent of her injuries. The second is to humiliate the Radiance Federation. No matter which of these 2 things, we can do it. There's no need for us to form an alliance with the Azure Federation's diplomatic corps." Chapter 1474. Speaking of which, the woman's tone changed, and she spoke with a sinister tone. "In my opinion, those 12 cocooned demon embryos might as well be used to enhance the 12 insect-type carcinoma phase. When we leave the Radiance sect, it will be more useful to throw these suzerain-class carcinoma phase onto the Radiance sect's land." Before the man in front of the woman could say anything, an old man in front of the man reprimanded. "Yanling, are you trying to trigger a war between us and the Radiance land? Yanling, are you trying to trigger a war between us and the Radiance land? You are favored by the 3 majesties. At such a time, you should consider the benefits of the majesties who value you." The woman named Yanling pouted and rolled her eyes. She didn't say anything else. The 2 men beside the woman asked, one on the left and one on the right, "Big Brother Qian, during this trip to the Radiance land, Yanling, brother you, and I will be able to crush everyone in the Radiance 100 sequence. We have seen the information of the Radiance 100 sequence members. There is nothing special about them. Even if most of the Radiance 100 sequence members are hiding their strength. Based on the trump cards that they have revealed, there isn't much worth paying special attention to." The words of the 2 youths were extremely arrogant, but the remaining 7 independent 100 sequence members lowered their heads as much as possible. They lowered their heads to weaken their presence. This was because Yanling, Kai Hua, and Yu Changjian weren't just the new independent 100 sequence members. At the same time, they were favored and appointed by the majesties to be the next Freedom Envoy. The conversation between the 3 new Freedom Envoys and the previous Freedom Envoys had been interrupted. The 7 independent 100 sequence members didn't even have the qualifications or opportunity to speak. Upon hearing the 2 youths' words, the tall and thin man, who was tapping the table, couldn't help but frown. Looking at the 3 arrogant people in front of him, the tall and thin man reminded them. The next Radiance Envoy candidates are the Bamboo Monarch's disciple, the Chef Supreme's disciple, and the Lamp Lord's disciple. These 3 people are already over 20 years old. It's impossible for them to participate in the Radiance 100 sequence selection at this time. The disciples of the 3 majesties of the Radiance land didn't walk the path of the Radiance 100 sequence in the early years and have been training outside. But according to the information we obtained, both the Moon Empress and Night Empress have accepted disciples. The disciples of these 2 people are rather mysterious. The information from the Radiance sect's internal department did not clearly identify their identities. My premonition tells me that these 2 people are likely to be Radiance 100 sequence members. This time, it is very likely that you will be facing the next Radiance Envoy, so don't underestimate your enemies, especially you, Yanling. Your sacred source life form is indeed powerful, but don't rely too much on it during battle. Perhaps your sacred source life form will be targeted by someone else's sacred source life form. Don't blame me for not reminding you when the car overturns. When Yenling heard Qianyu calling her, she couldn't help but stick out her tongue. However, Yenling didn't take Qianyu's instructions seriously at all. So what if there was a next Radiance envoy? His, Kai Hua's, and Yu Changjian's phase formed a system, and the sacred source life forms could work together perfectly. Among the new freedom envoys, Kai Hua and Yu Changjian were the iron triangle that supported the offensive direction. As for the other two, one was a functional spirit chi professional, and the other was a creation master. The two of them were just supporting roles. Yenling didn't think that there was anyone in this world who was her age. There was someone who could defeat her, Kai Hua, and Yu Changjian together. Not only did Yenling not understand, but Kai Hua and Yu Changjian also didn't understand Qianyu's words. Big brother Qianyu had always been arrogant. Why was he so cautious now? A grand event like the Myriad States Convention was attended by the previous 5 Federation envoys and the current 5 Federation envoys. In a sense, the current 5 Federation envoys were all candidates for the previous 5 Federation envoys. In some special battles, or if the previous Federation envoys had any accidents, they would be able to replace them in time. If there were no accidents, a Federation envoy could participate in 2 Myriad States conventions. The second Myriad States convention would be their home ground. Yenling, Kai Hua, and Yu Changjian hadn't participated in the Myriad States conventions yet. After all, the 3 of them were rather reliant on Qianyu. Qianyu sighed inwardly when he saw the indifferent expressions on the trio's faces. 8 years ago, he also had the same mentality as the 3 of them. However, when he participated in the Myriad States conventions and faced the Radiance envoys head-on, he didn't have the same mentality. Only then did Qianyu understand what kind of existence the Radiance envoys were. Qianyu was very afraid that Yenling, Kai Hua, and Yu Changjian would suffer because they looked down on him. At that time, it was a small matter if the Radiance Federation didn't lose face, but it wouldn't be good if it affected the other purposes of going to the Radiance Federation. Qianyu glanced at the 3 elders sitting below him and nodded to one of them. After the elder understood Qianyu's meaning, he said to Yenling and the other 2, "Your sacred source life forms are very important. It's best not to expose your sacred source life forms during this trip to the Radiance Federation." Upon hearing the elder's words, Yenling and the other 2 did not object. The 3 of them understood that the elder wanted them to reveal the sacred source life form's abilities during the Myriad States conventions. This would make the Radiance Federation envoys have no time to prepare. It would catch them off guard. Kai Hua suddenly thought of something and said, "If there really is a disciple of His Holiness among the newly promoted Radiance 100 sequence members, why don't we go all out during the spar? It's common for accidents to happen during a spar. Even if someone really dies during a spar, the Radiance sect can't say anything." Yenling and Yu Changjian were moved by Kai Hua's words. Qianyu also said after thinking for a while, "If you are confident in killing it, you can consider using the sacred source life form's ability. But since it was an accident, don't be too obvious when you do it." Speaking up to this point, Qianyu stood up and sighed before continuing. "Forget it. The Azure Federation's envoys are not willing to cooperate with us for a short period of time. We also have other allies in the Radiance Federation. I want to see how the Radiance Federation will compete with the Freedom Federation in the 10,000 States Convention 2 years later after the chaos." At this point, Qianyu's face revealed a meaningful smile. He was like a cunning hunter who had laid a trap long ago. And now, this hunter saw his prey stepping into his trap. There was a cool breeze, and the sea breeze fluttered Yinlin's clothes. Yinlin's hands and feet were cold as she looked at the increasingly obvious stars in the sky. Yinlin could not help but be intoxicated. Yinlin was no longer a blind girl who could not see. Yinlin had awakened 2 beast patterns and was the Azure Federation's 4th Azure envoy. Chapter 1475. Speaking of which, the gathering among the stars was not considered helpful to Yinlin now. Instead, it was a little cumbersome. However, there were already fetters that Yinlin could not cut off in the stars. Yinlin did not dare to think about what would happen if the Celestial Council did not proceed as usual. Would she never be able to see him again? Just as Lin was looking up at the stars, in the rock continent's underground world, a seriously injured youth was commanding a bat species Fae. He split out a bat group to attack a group of Class 3 underground dimensional lifeforms. As the bat group surrounded these Class 3 underground dimensional lifeforms, the youth's injuries were recovering at a visible rate. There were more than 10 figures behind this youth, controlling different source-type lifeforms to fight against the underground dimensional lifeforms. This was a small team that Bei Su had formed within 2 weeks. It could be considered the embryonic form of Bei Su's faction. During these 6 days, Bei Su did not dare to let himself stop at all. He had to fight until he was exhausted every time. This was the only way Bei Su could not let his imagination run wild. Tomorrow was the day of the next appointment, and Bei Su had been looking forward to it. Trey had been rather stable for the past few days as he had been on the road. He encountered 2 groups of bandits, but they were dealt with by the Hammer Kingdom's court warriors who were sent to his side. Although it was still a long way from the Divine Wood Federation's border, Trey was already looking forward to meeting the master he had identified. Zhou Yiren had already met up with Lin Yuan in reality. The Celestial Council no longer had any meaning to Zhou Yiren. Zhou Yiren no longer intended to participate in the next Celestial Council. Zhou Yiren did not intend to participate in the next Celestial Council. In any case, she could get in touch with Lin Yuan at any time. Lin had already started to select the 14 millet fruits and had already selected 7 suitable women. It would not be long before the 14 millet fruits would be formed. At night, the radiant royal capital's lights were lit, and it was bustling. Topics related to the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess on Star Web had washed the major forums and posts tonight. Even those Star Web netizens who did not listen to music usually understood the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess and the Warm Sun Foundation. Just as the public opinion about the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess was at its peak, a piece of news was announced at midnight. It was announced on Star Web on time. The Star Web officials sent a message to every Star Web user. This news left all the Star Web netizens and faction members dumbfounded. Then, he was filled with anticipation and excitement. It was the news of the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift officially opening for all Radiance Federation citizens. During the Nyx Assembly, the High Holiness had discussed that Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rifts would only be opened to faction members. But later, His Holiness Cicada Cry proposed the idea of letting 32 major cities build mirror cities in the Abyss world. With the established mirror city, the danger in the Abyss could be effectively isolated through the city itself. This allowed any Radiant citizen to operate safely in the Abyss world. Thus, there was the current announcement to the world. Regardless of whether it was a rising force, a veteran force, or a peak force, none of them had received the news in advance. It could be said that this piece of news was equal to everyone. The members of the forces who received the news immediately mobilized their men. He began to plan his development in the Abyss. It was precisely this piece of news that caused the expressions of Di Wanqing and Di Wanyin, who were overseeing the whale ocean trade, to change. The Radiance Association would publicize the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift during the Great Night Assembly. Di Wanqing and Di Wanyin heard the news. It was just that the two of them did not expect the Highnesses to act so quickly and not leak any information in advance. If it had been during normal times, Di Wanqing and Di Wanyin would have wished for the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift to open earlier. At the juncture of the Radiance 100 sequence selection, no one would focus on the whale ocean trade anymore. However, the bad thing was that the whale ocean trade had attracted so many low-class creation masters at this juncture. The 32 major cities were building cities in the Abyss world. Factions of all sizes were building towns in the Abyss world, and this was the time when creation masters' resources were needed the most. If the whale ocean trade were to recruit creation masters in large quantities at this time, it would be too conspicuous. It was very easy for others to discover that something was amiss and reveal clues. Di Wanyin immediately said to Di Wanqing, "Wanqing, go and inform Third Sister about the situation. 3 days later, when that batch of creation masters arrives, ask Third Sister to get rid of all of them so that she can become a Class 5 creation master in one go." Di Wanyan knew very well whether his third sister had become a Class 5 creation master or not. She had completely different speaking rights. What Di Wanyan wanted to do was to increase the speaking rights of the whale ocean trade to the maximum. It was so big that she could negotiate with the High Holiness. Lin Yuan woke up at daybreak in the return from faraway manor. After consuming the geocentric jade milk, it was already very difficult for him to develop the habit of sleeping in. After waking up, he immediately learned about the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rifts public announcement. He immediately entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone and worked hard. He was prepared to quickly prepare the phase that he had promised to Raging Wave City, Indigo Azure City, and Ascending Dragon City. He would then use Sky City's reputation among the 3 major cities to attract more attention from the other major cities. He would then use this opportunity to negotiate more cooperation with the major cities. This would allow Lin Yuan to obtain more rations for the princess. After working hard until noon, Lin Yuan went downstairs for lunch. After lunch, he prepared to discuss the Sacred Source Lifeform's Celestial Body Council with Wenyu. This time, when Wenyu went into seclusion in the Radiant Moon Palace, the source paper was not the biggest improvement in her strength. It was the Sacred Source Lifeform's Celestial Body Council. Now, Wenyu's Celestial Body Council had risen to 3-star, the same grade as Lin Yuan's Sacred Source Lifeform, the Princess. If Wenyu's Celestial Body Council wanted to increase its grade, it needed spiritual-type spiritual ingredients. Mystic Moon's original body was a spiritual-type dragon species Fae. As Wenyu's teacher, Mystic Moon always felt that she had treated Wenyu unfairly. Mystic Moon was so focused on nurturing Wenyu because she hoped that Wenyu could follow by the Moon Empress side like she did. She could also follow by Lin Yuan's side and assist him. Thus, Mystic Moon gave the dragon horn that she had shed after taking that step to Wenyu. He let Wenyu's Sacred Source life form, the Heavenly Body Assembly, absorb the dragon horn. Although Wenyu's Celestial Body Council was only at 3-star, for a short period of time, under the effect of the dragon horn, the Celestial Body Council would quickly rise to 5-star. It might even reach 5-star and above. As the Celestial Body Council's grade increased, Wenyu's understanding of the Celestial Body Council also became stronger. Wenyu was prepared to chat with Lin Yuan about the Celestial Body Council's situation. She wanted Lin Yuan to help her decide the Celestial Body Council's development direction. Chapter 1476. However, before talking to Lin Yuan about the Sacred Source Life Form and the Celestial Body Council, Wenyu had other things to ask him. Wenyu had only learned about the opening of the Class 6 Abyss Rift this morning. In her opinion, the Abyss world was an unknown world that had yet to be explored by humans. There were extremely rich resources in the Abyss world that could be mined. Wenyu wanted to ask if Lin Yuan had any plans to develop in the Abyss world. Thus, she said, "Young Master, the Abyss world has opened." "Young Master, the Abyss world has opened. According to the rules, our Sky City will be located in the capital. Are we going to build a faction in the Abyss world's mirror image royal capital?" Upon hearing her words, Lin Yuan was slightly startled. He immediately recalled that he, Lu Jie, Zhong Zhe, Long Tao, and the others had not told Wenyu about building a faction in the Abyss world. Thus, Lin Yuan explained the situation to Wenyu in detail. Wenyu nodded when she heard that Lin Yuan already had a plan for the Abyss world. At that moment, Wenyu heard Lin Yuan continue. "Wenyu, I told you about the Swamp World situation last time, but you have never been to the Swamp World to take a look. Since I have time now, I'll take you to the Swamp World to take a look." Lin Yuan took out the treasure cave golden toad's skin and stomach pouch. He released the dragon-horned mystic tortoise and handed it over to the mother of Bloodbath. Lin Yuan let Wenyu enter the treasure cave golden toad. Then Lin Yuan returned to the Spirit Lock spatial zone with the treasure cave golden toad. He entered the swamp world through the Klein hub. After entering the swamp world, Lin Yuan released Wenyu. After Wenyu visited the territory in the swamp world, Lin Yuan took her back to the main world. Sitting on the water rhinoceros leather sofa again, Wenyu learned that Lin Yuan had already spread his business to the swamp world. Compared to the Abyss world, the swamp world was undoubtedly more suitable for human development. Because the abyss world was hot all year round, there was no rain, and the ground was solid rock. It was not suitable for planting any plant species phase, and it was difficult to raise long-haired beast species phase. Under the high temperature of the abyss world, even if the long-haired beast species phase had sufficient water supply, they would still be easily suffocated by their long hair. With Long Tao managing the faction and many people investing in it, Lin Yuan's distribution of resources would be much less than when he established his own faction. However, he could truly be a hands-off shopkeeper and not have to worry about anything. At the same time, there was no need to invest any manpower. Since everything in the abyss world had been arranged properly, the abyss world was not a place to be. When you did not need to make any more plans. At this time, Wen Yu recalled the message that Duan He had sent 2 days ago. With a wave of Wen Yu's hand, the paper fluttered in the air. Ink continued to form on the flying pieces of paper. A stack of new documents fell on the table. Wen Yu took the stack of information and handed it to Lin Yuan. Young Master, Indigo Azure City wishes to deepen our cooperation with you and order more bronze/epic phase. Also, the scope of cooperation is not limited to Indigo Azure City's standard Fey, the hot spring slug. At that time, Young Master hadn't returned yet. After learning about this matter, I called the Stormy Wave Guard captain in advance. I found out that Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City, these 2 big cities that are close to Indigo Azure City, have plans to cooperate with us. I mailed a piece of faceless paper to Duan He and prepared to let him use it to change his appearance before contacting Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. Find out the conditions given by Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. Of course, whether to cooperate with Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City is entirely up to Young Master. Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City are so eager for Creation Master resources because they must have heard the news of the Class 6 Abyss Dimensional Rift opening in advance. Law Source crystals are not rare items for these big cities. During the active period of the Dimensional Rift every 10 years, these big cities have collected countless Law Source crystals. Young Master can raise the price. This will be good for both Young Master and Indigo Azure City. Upon hearing Wen Yu's words, Lin Yuan frowned slightly. However, Lin Yuan soon understood the meaning of Wen Yu's words. After all, the news of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City had been obtained from Indigo Azure City. If he increased the price for Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City, the price for Indigo Azure City would remain the same. It was tantamount to invisibly categorizing Indigo Azure City as one of their factions. This would allow Indigo Azure City's City Guard captain to have an endless favorable impression of Sky City. This favorable impression could even jump out of the transaction itself. Wen Yu's method was a pull of human relations. Between pulling and pulling, it could make a relationship more solid. The news from Raging Wave City had also been spread by Indigo Azure Guard captain Feng Dong. Feng Dong could let the other 3 big cities' city guard captains know about this kind of cooperation that concerned the prosperity of his own city. It was enough to see that Feng Dong was a generous person. In other words, Feng Dong himself was a big mouth. If Sky City maintained the original price for Indigo Azure City and raised the price for Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City, Feng Dong would feel very proud. Perhaps very soon, Feng Dong's big mouth could let more of the big cities' city guard captains know the benefits of cooperating with Sky City. Recently, Duan He had been bringing the white-clothed followers to train outside. It was better to let Duan He and the other white-clothed followers bring along the faceless paper to cooperate with the major cities. Lin Yuan sighed. He would have to go into seclusion for this month. However, working hard in seclusion was the only way for him to increase his rank as a spirit chi professional. Although continuously enhancing bronze/epic phase wouldn't give as much spirit chi as upgrading bronze/epic phase to silver or gold, the spirit chi one could obtain was far less than upgrading bronze phase to silver or gold. However, this would undoubtedly allow him to obtain greater economic benefits. After all, the entire faction still had to rely on Lin Yuan to support it. However, many a little makes an ocean. Before the Radiance Envoy selection, it would be enough if he could easily become an A-rank spirit chi professional. Lin Yuan said to Wen Yu. After this, I will contact the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. At this point, Lin Yuan's mind moved. Wen Yu, get the source paper to form a faceless paper for me. Wen Yu felt a little strange when she heard Lin Yuan's words and did not understand why he wanted the faceless paper. However, since he had made a request, she naturally would not refuse. Soon, a pale yellow tissue appeared in her hand. Wen Yu handed the pale yellow tissue to Lin Yuan and said, "Don't worry." She said, "Young master, you just have to put this faceless paper on your face. The faceless paper will change the proportions of your facial features. It can change about 80% of the original foundation. After the changes, it will be impossible to recognize a person based on their appearance." Chapter 1477. In addition to the faceless paper changing its appearance on its own, I can also manipulate it and change it into a specific appearance. However, after wearing the faceless paper, there's no way to remove the disguise state. If you want to remove the disguise state, you need to use the source paper to take back this faceless paper. Otherwise, even if you scratch your face, the faceless paper will still not be damaged. Upon hearing Wen Yu's explanation, Lin Yuan chose the former without hesitation. Lin Yuan planned to use the faceless paper to change his facial features at will and make them more ordinary. He did this so that he could go to the Whale Ocean Trade's lair and find out what was going on through the registration. Lin Yuan placed this pale yellow tissue on his face. Lin Yuan felt something gently brushing against his face. His face was slightly itchy. But soon, this itch disappeared. There was no mirror on the first floor of the Return from Faraway Manor's main residence. However, the sweet white porcelain vase with fresh flowers on the table could reflect his image very well. Through the sweet white porcelain vase, Lin Yuan found that his facial features had indeed been changed by the faceless paper to be extremely ordinary. It was the kind of existence that would not be noticed in a crowd. Lin Yuan was very satisfied with this. However, he did not know that Wen Yu's thoughts were completely different from his. After Lin Yuan used the faceless paper, Wen Yu had indeed felt that his facial features had become ordinary at first glance. However, at second glance, she found that it was not the case at all. Lin Yuan's facial features had been exquisite and handsome before. Such handsome and exquisite facial features would, to a large extent, weaken the beauty that Lin Yuan had. It would weaken Lin Yuan's temperament and bone features, giving people a sense of beauty. However, now that Lin Yuan's appearance had become ordinary, the beauty of his temperament and bone features could not be suppressed no matter what. If such a Lin Yuan was placed in a crowd, people would not feel anything at first glance. However, as long as that person took a second glance, he would immediately become the focus of the crowd. However, this did not affect Lin Yuan's purpose of using the faceless paper to cover up his appearance. Wen Yu was not obsessed with looks. At present, Lin Yuan had an ordinary appearance and a prominent temperament and bone features. In her eyes, Lin Yuan was more charming than the previous Lin Yuan. Sitting beside Lin Yuan, Wen Yu's heart could not help but beat faster. Wen Yu hurriedly said softly, "Young master, if you don't want to continue using the faceless paper, I can help you take it off. After taking it off, the faceless paper will not be damaged. Young master, you can still wear it on your face in the future, and your facial features will be the same as last time. However, if you change to another piece of paper, your facial features might not be the same as before, and they will continue to change." He reached out to touch his face and found that it felt exactly the same as before. It was impossible to tell that he had changed his appearance. The faceless paper's ability to disguise itself could be said to be one of the best. After Wen Yu took it off, Lin Yuan put away the pale yellow paper. He then turned to Wen Yu and asked, "Wen Yu, you said you wanted to discuss your sacred source life form, the celestial body assembly. Did something happen to your sacred source life form, the Heavenly Body Council?" Upon hearing that, Wen Yu immediately activated the Celestial Council, and a cat's eye stone appeared on her forehead. The cat's eye stone flickered with starlight, making Wen Yu feel as though she was among the stars. Lin Yuan found that Wen Yu's sacred source life form, the Celestial Council, had been upgraded to Star 3. Moreover, there seemed to be an object containing a huge amount of spiritual energy hidden in the Celestial Council. This object was increasing the Celestial Council's star class every second. Lin Yuan used Morbius True Data to continue investigating the Celestial Council. He found that the Celestial Council's star class had changed. Everything else, including the function description, was the same as before. Lin Yuan looked at Wenyu, not knowing what she wanted to talk to him about. At that moment, Wenyu said, "Young master, my sacred source life form has been upgraded to star 3. The Celestial Council has now reached a fork in the road. I can use my spiritual energy to decide the Celestial Council's 2 directions of development. The first direction is to pull more people into the Celestial Council to make up for the northern and southern constellation seats. The Celestial Council is now at a fork in the road. I can use my spiritual energy to decide the Celestial Council's 2 directions of development. The other way is to deepen the relationship between the Celestial Council and the northern and southern constellations." Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and asked, "More specifically, how can I deepen the relationship with the northern and southern constellations contractors?" In Lin Yuan's opinion, pulling a large number of people into the Celestial Council was not necessarily a good thing. Wenyu's spiritual energy could only maintain the Celestial Council once every 7 days. It could only be maintained for half an hour. Under such circumstances, if the Celestial Council suddenly expanded from the original size of 6 people, including Lin Yuan and Wenyu, to a dozen people, during that half an hour of the Celestial Council's meeting, the 6 to 7 minutes that a person could get now would become 1 to 2 minutes. Without saying much, just exchanging pleasantries, a minute or 2 would pass. It was difficult to set aside time for Lin Yuan to solve the problem through the Celestial Council's functional astral throne. Therefore, after hearing Wenyu mention the Celestial Council's 2 development routes, Lin Yuan was more inclined to the latter. However, Lin Yuan wanted to know how to deepen it. How to deepen it? The Celestial Council was originally a mutually beneficial organization, so sufficient communication time was very necessary. Compared to suddenly adding so many people to the Celestial Council, Lin Yuan was a little more solid. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Wenyu explained, "If I want to deepen the connection with the contestants of the southern and southern constellation seats, I need to consume a huge amount of spirit power. However, after deepening the connection, not only can we pull the contestants of the northern and southern constellation seats to join the Celestial Council through sleep at a specific time, we can also allow them to communicate with their own celestial bodies and communicate with the Celestial Council." When Lin Yuan heard that, his eyes suddenly lit up. If that was the case, then the Council of Celestial Bodies would be able to contact each other once every 7 days. It became a 2-way connection that could be carried out at any time. However, based on his understanding of the Celestial Council's functions and the Star Spirit Throne, the Celestial Assembly was not a big deal. Apart from Wenyu's mental power, this connection might require other things as well. Before Lin Yuan could continue to ask, Wenyu had already spoken first. However, this kind of long-distance communication consumes will energy and rule-bending energy. Only under the premise that I pay enough will energy and rule-bending energy can I connect to the contractor of the Star Soul Throne. That would be a great burden. Upon hearing Wenyu's words, Lin Yuan tilted his head. If it's just willpower and rules, I have plenty of them here. 166 Reading Net. Wenyu remembered that when she had first convened the Celestial Council, he had said the same thing after exhausting his willpower and nomological energy. However, if he wanted to communicate with the contestants of the northern and southern constellations through the Celestial Council, he would need a lot of rules and willpower. Wenyu said, "Young master, even if you don't lack willpower energy and rule-bending energy, it's still not enough. But I'll need a lot of rules and willpower." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan smiled and explained to Wenyu, "My sacred source life form can extract willpower and laws from the bodies of fantasy breed phase and the law crystals of myth breed phase. Don't worry. If we really need too many, We can exchange for some dead fantasy breed phase corpses when we reach an agreement with those large cities. When I use the Golden Lotus brocade stock to trade with the various peak powers, I'll exchange it for some law crystal fragments. Wen Yu was completely relieved after hearing Lin Yuan's words. Wen Yu knew that Lin Yuan had already formed a contract with a sacred source life form. However, Wen Yu did not know what Lin Yuan's sacred source life form was. Wen Yu had never thought of asking him. Now that Lin Yuan had told him about the sacred source life form's abilities, it meant that Lin Yuan trusted him. Wen Yu's heart felt warm in an instant. The corners of her mouth curled up into a bright smile. After sorting out her emotions, Wen Yu said, "Young master, if I increase the connection between me and the contractors of the constellation seats in the deep south sky, the Celestial Body Council can only accommodate 7 people at the same time, including you and me. However, I can extend the duration of the Celestial Body Assembly from the original 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows. This was not considered a restriction for him. Instead, it was very good news. Compared to 30 minutes, 45 minutes was an increase of 50% on the original basis. It would be easier for him to communicate with the Celestial Council members. On the other hand, 7 people was not a small number. Excluding Lin Yuan and Wen Yu, the Celestial Council could pull in 5 people at the same time. Su Iren had already met up with him at the Divine Wood Federation. Although Su Iren had signed a contract with the constellation seats, she did not need to participate in the Celestial Council. Tally would soon meet up with him at the Divine Wood Federation border. At that time, the Celestial Council would have an empty seat. Currently, only Yin Lin, Bei Su, and Tally needed to participate in the next Celestial Council. In other words, when Lin Yuan convened the Celestial Council, he could choose 2 newcomers to join the Celestial Council. Lin Yuan was looking forward to it. It would give the contractors of the constellation seats the ability to contact the Celestial Council. Every time the Celestial Council held, there was no need for everyone to participate. This would not delay Wen Yu from increasing the number of contractors of the constellation seats, and it could also greatly increase the speed of the Celestial Council's star class increase. The Celestial Council had 2 ways to increase its star class. One was to consume spiritual-type spiritual ingredients. The other was to increase its star class by consuming the constellation seat's laws and willpower. To a certain extent, Lin Yuan's sacred source life form, the sacred sword-wielding queen, and Wen Yu's sacred source life form, the Celestial Council, were complementary existences. After finalizing the development direction of the Celestial Council with Lin Yuan, Wen Yu prepared to go to the training room for the ceremony before the Celestial Council. Lin Yuan picked up the phone and called the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City respectively. Lin Yuan gave a unified statement to the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. He would use the price of 6 law source crystals to enhance the standard phase of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. He would upgrade the standard phase of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City to Bronze/Epic. With Indigo Azure City's city guard captain Feng Dong's guarantee, the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City were very forthright. They immediately placed an order for 1,000 standard phase in Sky City. However, Lin Yuan had never met the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City. Therefore, the city guard captains of Cloud Pool City and Yuzhong City only paid a deposit and were not as forthright as Wang Su of Raging Wave City. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.